Chapter 1356. President Su, I'll give you a piece of chewing gum. Lu Jifei's lawyer, Lu Luyo, handed Su Xiaobin a piece of chewing gum. Su Xiaobin didn't think much about it. He thought it was to maintain a fresh breath in the negotiation later, so he took it and put it in the innermost part. You don't have to arrange it so formally, right? It's just signing a contract. This is what President Lu specially instructed. We have to do it. Lu Luyo smiled and said. Then, his phone rang. He took it out and glanced at it. He said to Su Xiaobin, "It's President Lu's call. I'll answer it." Okay. Su Xiaobin nodded. Lu Luyo picked up the phone without changing his expression. President Lu, hello. Luyo, how are you preparing on your side? Asked Lu Jifei. President Lu, you can rest assured. Everything is ready, said Lu Luyo. He knew that President Lu would definitely know what he was talking about. And, not bad. Report to me at any time. Lu Jifei heard that everything was ready, and he was relieved. Okay, President Lu. Lu Luyo said tacitly. Su Xiaobin could also vaguely hear what Lu Jifei and Lu Luyo said. However, in his opinion, it was the arrangement of work before signing the contract. It was not a big deal. The only thing that made Su Xiaobin a little uncomfortable was that the people on his side, except for himself, were all Lu Jifei's people, from lawyers to staff. It was not that these people obeyed him in public but opposed him in private. On the contrary, these people listened to him very well. They could also complete the things he arranged very well. It was just this feeling that made Su Xiaobin uncomfortable. Perhaps Lu Jifei was afraid that he would take all the credit. After all, this cooperation was facilitated by him from the beginning to the end. Lu Jifei didn't even participate, so he sent some of his people to watch him to prevent him from being greedy. In fact, Su Xiaobin didn't want to be greedy. He knew that this credit must be given to Lu Jifei. Otherwise, it was impossible for him, a small office manager, to take such a big share of the credit. What is President Lu's order on the phone? Su Xiaobin glanced at Lu Luyo and asked. It's nothing. He just asked how our preparation is going. Lu Luyo smiled and said, President Su, I guess the people from Mingyang Security should have arrived. Should we greet them at the door? Okay. Su Xiaobin nodded, stood up, and walked out of the conference room with Lu Luyo. Jing Xiaolu, Bao Sanli, and a group of staff entered the Huihai Business Club. When they came to the conference room on the third floor, they saw Su Xiaobin and their lawyer, Lu Luyo, standing at the door to greet them. President Su, you are still so early. Jing Xiaolu saw that Su Xiaobin came before her again, and she was a little embarrassed. It's nothing. Today is a big day. Lu Yu and I have nothing to do, so we came over to decorate the conference room and take a few photos when we sign the contract. Su Xiaobin said. Jing Xiaolu glanced at the conference room. Sure enough, the decorations inside were similar. Flowers were arranged, and there was a faint fragrance in the room. It seemed that Su Xiaobin had really put in a lot of effort. In this regard, Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli were also more optimistic about the prospects of this cooperation. Now it seemed that the other party still attached great importance to this cooperation. It could be seen from their attitude of arranging the signing venue. They are really considerate. Jing Xiaolu sighed. President Bao, welcome, welcome. Su Xiaobin saw Bao Sanli behind Jing Xiaolu and greeted him with a smile to shake hands with him. The previous negotiations were carried out by Jing Xiaolu, and Bao Sanli did not participate. But today, Bao Sanli came personally to sign the contract. He entered the conference room accompanied by Su Xiaobin and Lu Luyo. After the two sides said a few words of courtesy, they talked about signing the contract. There is no problem with the contract, right? Asked Su Xiaobin. The contract was finalized by him and Jing Xiaolu yesterday. He didn't know if Bao Sonli had any opinions after going back and reading it. There is no problem. I have already read it. Bao Sonli nodded. Well, we will print 2 copies on the spot. Su Xiaobin said to the staff member, Chang Shio, who was already prepared. Chang Shio pulled out the contract finalized yesterday from the notebook, connected it to the printer, and quickly printed 2 copies of the contract. After doing this, Chang Shio handed the contract to Su Xiaobin. President Su, it is printed. Okay. Su Xiaobin took the contract and handed each page to Jing Xiaolu one by one. You check the contract and see if there are any problems. Jing Xiaolu took the contract and read it carefully. Then she handed it to Bao Sonli. President Bao, do you take a look? It's good that you have no problems. I won't read it. Bao Sonli smiled and waved his hand. To be honest, he was really not good at reading these things. It doesn't matter. After we read it, the lawyers of both sides will review it again. Su Xiaobin smiled and said, we are just looking at the terms to see if there are any problems. The details are still handed over to the lawyers to review. After all, they are professionals. That's right. Bao Sonli said, then let the lawyers review the contract. The signing process smoothly entered the stage of the lawyers of both sides reviewing the contract. Lu Luyo, the lawyer of the Jiangyan Group, and Wang Hongcha, the lawyer of the Mingyang Security Company, were very careful. Both sides held a copy. After reading it, they exchanged it with each other. After confirming that there was no problem, Lu Luyo and Wang Hongcha both nodded and said, President Su, President Bao, there is no problem with the contract. You can sign it. She didn't know why, but Jing Xiaolu felt a sense of dizziness. Did I not sleep well yesterday? No, I didn't lose sleep. Jing Xiaolu felt a little strange. Since the contract review was completed, Su Xiaobin first took the contract and signed his name on the 2 copies. Then he pushed the contract to Bao Sonli. President Bao, I have signed it. Bao Sonli also picked up the pen and signed his name on the contract. Okay, everyone has signed. Let's stamp the contract. Lu Luyo stood up and picked up the contract with a smile. The special seal for the contract was the seal that both parties stamped on each contract to prevent the page numbers in the middle of the contract from being stolen. The special seal for the contract was generally to spread out a few pages of the contract. Each page was exposed, and then the contract was stamped. In this way, there would be some traces of stamping on each page. After both parties stamped, it was impossible to unilaterally falsify. Lu Luyo picked up the contract and turned to the side. At this moment, the contract was in front of him. Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sonli couldn't see the contract in his hand from this direction. Jing Xiaolu frowned. The other party's lawyer won't make such an obvious mistake, right? If you block the contract, it is inevitable that your side will think of something. In the blink of an eye, Lu Luyo had returned to his seat, put the contract on the table, stamped the contract, and handed it to Wang Hongcha. He smiled and said, It's your turn to stamp. Wait. Jing Xiaolu saw that Wang Hongcha was about to stamp without any suspicion, so she immediately stopped him. What's wrong? Bao Sonli was stunned and looked at Jing Xiaolu inexplicably. Su Xiaobin on the other side was also inexplicable. He didn't understand why Jing Xiaolu would stop at this time. When Lu Luyo heard Jing Xiaolu's voice, he frowned subconsciously. He originally thought that this matter would be very smooth. He didn't expect Jing Xiaolu to be an extremely shrewd person. This time, it depends on whether Boss Lu's secret weapon is useful. I hope it is as magical as he said. Let me look at the contract again. Jing Xiaolu snatched the contract from Wang Hongqia's hand. Vice President Jing, what do you mean? Su Xiaobin didn't say anything, but Lu Luyo was a little unwilling. Does Vice President Jing not believe us? Do you think we will do something? Hee, this is not it. I am not targeting anyone. I just feel that there is nothing wrong with being careful. Jing Xiaolu smiled, picked up the contract, and looked at it carefully again. I hope so. Vice President Jing, you know that we are very sincere about this cooperation. Lu Luyo snorted with a bad expression. Chapter 1357. Jing Xiaolu heard that Lu Luyo was a little unhappy. She also felt that she was a little too sensitive. Was she making a mountain out of a molehill? Since Lu Luyo dared to express his dissatisfaction so openly, it seemed that he really didn't do anything. Otherwise, most people would keep their mouths shut and remain silent after doing something. Wouldn't his words reveal that he was trying to hide something? However, Jing Xiaolu just thought about it. She still looked at the contract in her hand very seriously. Lu Luyo now also pinned his hopes on Lu Jifei's secret weapon. Whether it could succeed or not, it depended on whether this secret weapon was easy to use. If this secret weapon was easy to use, whatever he said would not affect the content that Jing Xiaolu saw. If this secret weapon was not easy to use, he would still reveal flaws if he did not speak. Jing Xiaolu read the contract and found that there was no problem, so she smiled embarrassedly. In terms of the contract, it is better to be cautious. Yes, Vice President Jing is right. Su Xiaobin could also understand Jing Xiaolu's approach, so he did not say much. Wang Hongqia took the contract. Since Jing Xiaolu had read it so carefully before, Wang Hongqia could not be sloppy. Before stamping the contract, he also patiently read the contract carefully. After finding that there was nothing wrong with it, he stamped the contract. Happy cooperation. Wang Hongqia stood up and handed a contract to Jing Xiaolu and another contract to Su Xiaobin. Happy cooperation. Su Xiaobin just wanted to reach out and take it, but the lawyer, Lu Luyo, reached out and took the contract first. Just leave it with me. Don't lose this thing. Lu Luyo smiled and put the contract into the briefcase he carried with him. This thing couldn't be seen by Su Xiaobin now. Su Xiaobin thought that Lu Luyo was afraid that he would be arrogant with the contract, so he didn't think much about it. Lu Luyo was Lu Jifei's person. This was understandable. If he wanted to take the contract, then let him take it. After the two sides shook hands and took photos, they agreed to start discussing the formation of the new company tomorrow. After that, they left the Huihai Business Club separately. Outside the door, the cold wind blew. Jing Xiaolu's spirit instantly sobered up a lot. Her eyes lit up as if she had gotten rid of something. She felt very comfortable all over. I didn't expect this cooperation to be so smooth. Bao Sanli smiled and said, if Brother Yang knows, he will be very happy. Xiaolu, you've made a great contribution. Brother Yang has found a good wife like you. Jing Xiaolu blushed a little embarrassedly. It's also my first time negotiating a contract. I'm also constantly fumbling around. A good start is half the battle. With this good start, I believe our company will expand more in the future. Bao Sanli was also very happy. Although the Mingyang Security Company had taken over the security business of many hotels in Songjiang City and integrated many property companies, it could only do so much. It was somewhat stagnant. This expansion of the money deposit business was a good start. After Lu Luyo sent Bao Sanli, Jing Xiaolu, and others away, he said to Su Xiaobin, President Su, you go back first. I'm going to clean up the venue. Venue? Do you still want those flowers? Su Xiaobin was a bit baffled. He didn't know what Lu Luyo was going to pack. Those are not necessary, but the incense has to be extinguished. Otherwise, what if someone's conference room is on fire? Lu Luyo explained with a smile. This is also true. Then you go quickly. I will wait for you here. Su Xiaobin decided to wait for Lu Luyo for a while. Everyone went back together. Okay, then you wait for me for a while. Lu Luyo nodded and went upstairs. When he came to the conference room, he saw that the hotel's waiter was about to clean the conference room. Lu Luyo was shocked and quickly said, "Wait a minute. I still have something to take away." The waiter was stunned. He didn't expect the people here to come back after leaving. Looking at this conference room, in addition to a few pots of flowers, there were a few incense burners. Does he want to take these things back? However, although the waiter had some disdain in his heart, his face was still very friendly. Okay, sir, please. Seeing that a few incense burners were still there, Lu Luyo breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly extinguished the incense burners with the tea on the table, then put them in a bag. He walked out of the conference room and said to the waiter, "Okay, you can clean up." "Okay, sir." The waiter nodded and entered the conference room to clean up. He thought, "You are really stingy. Do you still want a few broken incense burners?" Lu Luyo went downstairs with the incense burner. After waving to Su Xiaobin, he sat in his car. Su Xiaobin saw Lu Luyo come down, so he ordered the driver to drive. This car was Lu Jifei's Honda Accord, and Lu Luyo had an Audi A4 himself. In addition to receiving Lu Jifei's salary, he also received the salaries of several other Lu family collateral descendants, so he was very rich. Moreover, he was a very tight-lipped person, and he was black-hearted. He was very favored by those Lu family descendants, and they gave him a lot of rewards. Buying an Audi A4 was nothing at all. For example, this time, Lu Jifei gave him a reward of 50,000 yuan. After getting in the car, Lu Luyo immediately dialed Lu Jifei's phone. "Luyo. How is it going?" Lu Jifei saw the call from Lu Luyo and quickly picked it up. "Don't worry, President Lu. Everything is going well." Lu Luyo said, "President Lu, your incense is really useful." "Oh. Really? Hehe, it seems that the Thai boss didn't lie to me." Lu Jifei was relieved after listening. He spent a lot of money to get this incense. It was better than hallucinogens such as belladonna and datura. "Yeah, I tampered with the contract." After changing a few pages, Jing Xiaolu seemed to notice something. "I stamped the contract for their lawyer, and she actually went over and read it again." Lu Luyo said, then their lawyer also read it again, and he still didn't find anything wrong. "It's amazing. That's good." Lu Jifei felt indescribably refreshed after listening. "Jing Xiaolu, that smelly bitch, I will let her know what the price of fooling me is. This time, I will make them lose everything. Yeah, she dares to provoke our President Lu. Isn't she looking for death?" Lu Luyo smiled and said, "President Lu, what is the incense all about? Can you tell me? I'm a little curious." Hehe, in fact, after the incense is lit, it unknowingly causes mental hallucinations. The reason why Jing Xiaolu and the lawyer didn't see any problems when they read the contract again was because they had already read the contract before this. There was a residual impression of the previous contract in their minds. After you gave them the tampered contract, they still retained the impression of the previous contract in their minds. Plus, this incense can make people hallucinate. What they see naturally becomes what they saw before. Lu Jifei explained proudly, "How is it? This thing is very useful, right?" "Sure enough." Lu Luyo thought, "This is a good thing. I don't know if I can get some," so he said, "President Lu, do you have any extra? Can you give me some?" Oh, this is no problem. I will give you the rest of the incense that was not used up. Lu Jifei was in a good mood today, so he generously agreed to Lu Luyo's request. Thank you, President Lu. Lu Luyo glanced at the incense in the bag. There was still a lot left. He quickly thanked him. After hanging up the phone, Lu Jifei couldn't help but boast a slogan. Let's see if I don't kill you this time. You bitch, do you think you are powerful just because you rely on some Yangming? This time, you made such a big mess. Let's see if Yangming will still care about you. Lu Jifei's move was vicious. Not only did it make Yangming suffer losses, but it also made Jing Xiaolu lose favor with Yangming and turn against him. Thinking of Jing Xiaolu's desperate look and begging him to let her go, Lu Jifei really couldn't help it. This time, let's see what tricks you can play. Aren't you going to obediently wash up and wait for me in bed? Su Xiaobin still didn't know that he was the one who stood out this time and helped the tyrant. He was still dreaming of becoming a branch manager in the future. Chapter 1358. President Bao, President Bao. Not good. Wang Hongcha, the full-time lawyer of the Mingyang Security Company, stumbled into Bao Sanli's office with a contract in his hand. What's the matter? What are you doing? Bao Sanli saw Wang Hongcha's panicked look and frowned. You are a lawyer. How can you be so reckless? President Bao, not good. Something big happened this time. Wang Hongcha couldn't care much. He rushed directly to Bao Sanli's side and threw a contract on Bao Sanli's table. What the hell happened? Bao Sanli was somewhat dissatisfied with this Wang Hongcha. What are you doing? You are also a high-level person in the group. How can you be so impatient? Why are you making a fuss? What is this? President Bao, this contract is not right. It has been tampered with. Wang Hongcha pointed to the contract on the table and said breathlessly, President Bao, we have been tricked. What the hell is going on? When Bao Sanli heard that there was a problem with the contract, he immediately picked up the contract on the table. Isn't this the contract we just signed? What's the problem? President Bao, look at the column of the two parties' obligations at the back. Wang Hongcha hurriedly turned the contract to the page of the two parties' obligations. He pointed to the above clause and said to Bao Sanli, President Bao, look. It says that we must invest 50 million yuan into the new company account within 3 days, isn't it 10 million yuan? How did it become 50 million yuan? What happened? Bao Sanli was shocked. He looked at the black and white words in his hand, and the cold sweat on his head immediately came out. This is not a small matter. 10 million yuan and 50 million yuan, although there is only one word difference, the difference is huge. This is not a joke. This is not the main thing. Look at the share allocation of the two parties at the back. Wang Hongcha said with a sad face, President Bao, you see. The original agreement was that we hold 51% of the new company's shares, but it has become 11%. What? Bao Sanli was shocked again. What is going on? Did I fall into a contract trap? This was no small matter. His investment had increased from 10 million to 50 million. He had invested more, but the shares he would receive correspondingly decreased. This was simply a joke. Seeing this, Bao Sanli knew that this was written in black and white. It was impossible to change it out of thin air. If he had to say what was going on, it was that his company must have been tricked by the other party. She didn't expect such a big thing to happen when Brother Yang wasn't home. Bao Sanli's mind immediately became blank. How could such a thing happen? Didn't you review the contract before? What are you looking at? Bao Sanli was furious. When he signed the contract, he didn't look at the contract. It was Wang Hong who looked at the contract. I read it at the time, and there was no problem. Wang Hongcha recalled the scene at the time. He also paid special attention to the details of the contract. There was no problem. Is there no problem? Bao Sanli suddenly thought of a possibility. He looked at Wang Hongcha coldly. Tell me, how much did the other party give you to do this? What is the benefit? Wang Hongcha was thinking about what went wrong. Suddenly, he heard Bao Sanli shout and was shocked. Are you the one who did this? Deliberately ignoring these things. Bao Sanli's eyes were about to spit out fire. Were you bribed by them? After listening to Bao Sanli's words, Wang Hongcha was shocked. His legs were soft, and he knelt on the ground. He knew what Bao Sanli's old profession was. If this matter wasn't explained clearly, he would probably be fed to the fish in the sea tomorrow. President Bao, I have a conscience. Wang Hongcha was so scared that his voice changed. You know, I have always been loyal to you. From the time of the annexation of the Wang's group, I have been at your beck and call. I have never had a change of heart. Hearing Wang Hongcha's words, Bao Sanli also calmed down. Indeed, this guy had no reason to betray. He knew my background. If he betrayed me, I would definitely not let him go. How do you explain this? This is also what I find strange. Right. Suddenly, Wang Hongcha thought of one thing. It was like a life-saving straw. President Bao, Vice President Jing has seen this contract before. Moreover, just before she stamped it, she reviewed it again. Yes. Bao Sanli thought about it. How could I forget this? In that case, this Wang Hongcha should be innocent. Jing Xiaolu couldn't be his accomplice. Jing Xiaolu was Brother Yang's woman. It was impossible for her to be a traitor and give away the interests of her family's company. Besides, Jing Xiaolu was with Yang Ming. What did she not have? How could the other party's interests buy her? Thinking of this, Bao Sanli waved his hand to Wang Hongcha and said, You get up. I have wronged you. Thank you, President Bao. Thank you, President Bao. Wang Hongcha was relieved. He had a feeling of surviving a disaster. Although Bao Sanli no longer suspected that he was a traitor, he was definitely responsible for this matter. He was the lawyer responsible for reviewing the contract. After the contract was signed, he definitely had to take the main responsibility for this problem. This matter was too strange. After Bao Sanli calmed down, his first thought was to call Jing Xiaolu and find her. He dialed the company's internal line. Xiaolu, come to my office. I have something important to discuss with you. After that, he hung up the phone. Jing Xiaolu was stunned. Why did Bao Sanli's voice sound a little unhappy? Moreover, every time Bao Sanli called, he was polite. What happened this time? He hung up the phone without waiting for her to speak. This was the first time. Jing Xiaolu quickly put down the work in her hand, got up and left the office. She walked quickly to Bao Sanli's office. She knocked on the door, and Bao Sanli's gloomy voice came from inside. Please come in. Jing Xiaolu pushed open the office door and saw the sullen Bao Sanli and Wang Hongcha, who was frowning. President Bao, why are you looking for me? Jing Xiaolu also noticed that the atmosphere was not right and asked carefully. AI. Bao Sanli sighed. Xiaolu, this time there is a big problem in the company. Brother Yang is not at home. We actually messed things up like this. President Bao, what happened to the company? What happened? Jing Xiaolu asked, puzzled. Wang Hongcha, you should talk to Xiaolu about the situation. Bao Sanli pointed to the contract on the table and instructed Wang Hongcha. Wang Hongcha also sighed. He picked up the contract on the table and handed it to Jing Xiaolu. Vice President Jing, look at the terms of this contract. Jing Xiaolu took the contract with some surprise and looked at the terms pointed by Wang Hongcha. At first glance, Jing Xiaolu was immediately stunned. Investment of 50 million. 11% of the shares. Where did this contract come from? Jing Xiaolu asked subconsciously. Isn't this the one we just signed? Bao Somli saw Jing Xiaolu's expression and knew that the contract she read beforehand was definitely different from this. But what was the problem? The one we signed. It's impossible. Jing Xiaolu widened her eyes. I was afraid that Lu Luyo would tamper with the contract. When he stamped the contract and took it back, I deliberately checked it again. There was no problem before I stamped it for Wang Hongcha. Right, Wang Hongcha, after I gave it to you, didn't you review it again? Vice President Jing, you are right. After you reviewed it and found no problem, I was worried and reviewed it again. There was indeed no problem, so I signed and stamped it. Wang Hongcha nodded quickly and said. It seemed that Jing Xiaolu's backer was indeed Yang Ming. No wonder he was able to become the vice president at such a young age. Since Bao Somli said so, then Jing Xiaolu must have that kind of relationship with Yang Ming, so Jing Xiaolu definitely couldn't do anything that would harm the company's interests. It seems that both I and Jing Xiaolu were mistaken. However, this is too strange. Jing Xiaolu looked at the contract in her hand. What method did they use? I handed the contract over to Wang Hongcha. After Wang Hongcha reviewed it again, he directly stamped the contract. These things were all done under our noses. There was no chance to secretly change the contract. Could it be that they used some kind of trick to make us all see wrongly? Wang Hongcha was also at his wit's end. If they wanted to find a scapegoat, it would be him. Yang Ming couldn't let his woman take the blame. Could it be that we all saw wrongly? Jing Xiaolu didn't quite believe it. Anyway, we fell into a contract trap this time. Bao Somli sighed. Let's not care how the other party did it for the time being. Let's think about how to deal with it. President Bao is right. We must come up with a solution as soon as possible. Jing Xiaolu nodded and said. But, how do we solve this? It's written in black and white. Wang Hongcha pointed at the contract and said with a bitter face. When Wang Hongcha's words came out, Bao Somli and Jing Xiaolu suddenly looked at each other. It seemed that no one had a good idea. I think we should first determine the Jiangyan group's attitude on this matter. Jing Xiaolu thought about it. The one who started the trouble should end it. Since the Jiangyan group's people did this, then they must want to use this to achieve some purpose. Therefore, if they wanted to solve this matter, they still needed to negotiate with the other party to see the other party's intentions and bottom line. Yeah. Why didn't I think of it? Bao Somli had to admit that Jing Xiaolu was better than him in many aspects, especially her calmness after the incident. Vice President Jing is right. Since the other party did this, they must have a purpose. It is useless for us to be anxious here. Let's listen to the other party's opinion first and then make a plan. Wang Hongcha also nodded in agreement. Let me make this call. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and volunteered. During this time, she had the most contact with Su Xiaobin. It was easier for the two people to communicate. Bao Somli and Wang Hongcha also nodded. They felt that it was best for Jing Xiaolu to make this call. Jing Xiaolu took out her mobile phone and dialed Su Xiaobin's phone. It didn't take long for Su Xiaobin to answer the phone. Su Xiaobin was very happy today. He thought that this contract was finally signed, which meant that the two companies were officially on the track of cooperation. Then, his position as the manager of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang office would also rise. The escort company established this time was called Mingyang Jiangyan Escort Company, Limited. He would be responsible for the Jiangyan Group, and his office would also be upgraded to a branch company. He would be a vice president in the escort company in the future. He was also a person with real power. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin was indescribably excited. Dear, the contract is finally signed. Your husband is going to be rich. As soon as Su Xiaobin returned home, he hugged Wang Lixia. He felt that life was so beautiful as if he saw a golden road in his future. Look at how happy you are. Wang Lixia was actually very happy. Seeing that Su Xiaobin finally had a future, she was excited for Su Xiaobin. This time, you can straighten up in front of your classmates, right? Su Xiaobin said proudly. Look at how happy you are. Wang Lixia was actually very happy. She would no longer be looked down upon by her classmates. Hee, since no one is around now, let's do some exercise. Su Xiaobin was in a good mood, and he began to have some ideas in his body. This is broad daylight. It's not good. Wang Lixia found Su Xiaobin more and more pleasing to the eye today. When Su Xiaobin said this, she also had some ideas, but because it was daytime, she was a little embarrassed. It's okay. Lu Luyo went to find Brother Fei. There are only 2 of us here. Su Xiaobin said with some urgency. Then, hurry up. Wang Lixia also wanted to do it. Under Su Xiaobin's half-hearted persuasion, she rolled to the bed. Lu Jifei held the contract in his hand and was very excited. He patted Lu Luyo's shoulder. Luyo, you are still the most reliable. You have worked hard this time. It's not hard. President Lu also gave me this incense. I have to thank President Lu. Lu Luyo got a bunch of incense and was very happy. And, you did a good job. Okay, you can play by yourself these 2 days. I will call you if there is anything. Lu Jifei said with satisfaction. Okay, President Lu. If there is anything, call me at any time. Lu Luyo quickly agreed. After sending Lu Luyo away, Lu Jifei took the contract and was going to find Su Xiaobin to talk about it. This matter definitely couldn't be hidden from Su Xiaobin. Since it had been done, he must tell him. He didn't tell Su Xiaobin when signing the contract because he was afraid that he would ruin it. In the end, Lu Luyo grabbed the contract because he was afraid that Su Xiaobin would say something after reading the contract on the spot and screw things up. But now, everything had become a foregone conclusion. Lu Jifei was not afraid of anything. Previously, Lu Jifei could see that Su Xiaobin was a little afraid of Bao Sanli, so he didn't tell him this at the beginning. First, he was afraid that Su Xiaobin would be discouraged and not dare to do it. Second, he had to use him to talk to Jing Xiaolu about cooperation. Only when he didn't know anything and had a real attitude to cooperate with Jing Xiaolu could Jing Xiaolu's side not be suspicious. Chapter 1360. Otherwise, even if Su Xiaobin cooperated with him, Lu Jifei was afraid that Su Xiaobin's excessive compromise during the negotiation would cause the other party suspicion. At that time, if Su Xiaobin thought that he had to change the contract sooner or later, wouldn't it be bad if he agreed to their conditions in advance? But now, the contract had been signed. Lu Jifei was not afraid that Su Xiaobin would object. Now, the 2 people were already grasshoppers on the same rope. When the contract was signed, he was also present. Now that the contract was signed like this, he was naturally responsible. Even if Su Xiaobin wanted to stay out of it, it was impossible. Therefore, Lu Jifei would do this without any scruples, and he was not afraid that Su Xiaobin would know about it afterward. However, no matter what, Su Xiaobin would still be responsible for this security company in the future. Lu Jifei believed that after signing the contract like this, he would only be uncomfortable for a short while, and he would definitely accept the current situation. This contract was obviously beneficial to his own side. When the company had performance, Su Xiaobin would also be proud. Lu Jifei parked the car at the door of the office where Su Xiaobin was located. He got off the car and stepped into the office. What made him wonder was that there was no one in the office. Lu Jifei was a bit baffled. Where are all these people? Just as he was about to take out the phone and call Su Xiaobin to ask where he was, he heard a very strange sound coming into his ears. Lu Jifei was shocked. He was not unfamiliar with this sound. It was a woman's moaning sound. It could only be heard when men and women were doing it. Lu Jifei held his breath and was delighted. Could it be that Su Xiaobin and Wang Lixia are doing it? Or is Wang Lixia touching herself? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Jifei suddenly became excited. He did not make a sound, but he began to look for the source of the sound. Lu Jifei looked around the room and finally set his eyes on a small door in the room. This was the only door in the room. Inside was Su Xiaobin's bedroom. The sound also came from here. Lu Jifei found the source of the sound and tiptoed to the side of the small door. He pricked up his ears and listened to the sounds that tugged at his heartstrings, making Lu Jifei's blood boil. At this moment, Lu Jifei wished that he had a pair of X-ray eyes to see the situation behind the small door. Why is there no window on this small door? Lu Jifei complained in his heart. This is... Suddenly, Lu Jifei was delighted to find that there was a wooden gap on the side of the small door. From here, he could see the scene behind the small door clearly. Lu Jifei endured the excitement in his heart and leaned on the door panel. His eyes almost squeezed through the gap of the door. Finally, he saw the situation inside clearly. Suddenly, the saliva in his mouth almost flowed out. Lu Jifei swallowed his saliva with a gulp sound. This Su Xiaobin really picked up a big bargain. This wife's skin is white and tender, and her figure is good. It is a pity that she is with him. Lu Jifei's breathing became hurried. He even fantasized that he had become Su Xiaobin, replacing him to ride on Wang Lixiao's body. Lu Jifei couldn't help but unbuckle his belt. Ring. The phone rang in a hurry. Lu Jifei suddenly quivered and subconsciously reached for the phone in his pocket. Am I so unlucky? Why did his phone ring at this time? That's so embarrassing. Lu Jifei was so scared that the cold sweat on his forehead flowed down. However, what he saw next made him relieved. Because Lu Jifei suddenly remembered that his cell phone did not have this ringtone. Looking again, Su Xiaobin picked up the phone from the table. Lu Jifei understood that Su Xiaobin's phone was ringing. Su Xiaobin was doing exercises, and he was suddenly shocked by the phone ringing. He picked up the phone and glanced at it. He didn't want to answer and wanted to cut it off, but when he saw the caller's name, Su Xiaobin knew that this call had to be answered. He had to smile bitterly to Wang Lixia. Lixia, I'm answering the phone. Why are you answering the phone? Come back quickly. Wang Lixia was a little dissatisfied. She was not done yet. How could he answer the phone halfway through? It's Jing Xiaolu. It must be business. Su Xiaobin was not willing to stop halfway, but he had no choice. When Wang Lixia heard that it was the company's business, she did not stop it. She also knew that her future beautiful life depended on Su Xiaobin's cooperation this time. As long as the cooperation was smooth, then she would definitely not have to worry about food and clothing in the future. So, she said, then you pick it up quickly. I'll wait for you. Su Xiaobin nodded and picked up the phone. Hello, Vice President Jing, didn't we just separate? What's the matter? President Su, there is a problem with the contract. Do you have time now? Let's come out and meet. Jing Xiaolu's tone was a bit unfriendly and very low. This tone made Su Xiaobin a little stunned. What happened to Jing Xiaolu? Moreover, what is the problem with the contract that she said? Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin's heart suddenly jumped. Will there be any changes in this cooperation? What's the problem with the contract? Vice President Jing. Su Xiaobin asked quickly. This was a big deal. Su Xiaobin suddenly raised his spirit. Why? You don't know. Jing Xiaolu heard Su Xiaobin's tone, and it didn't seem to be fake, but she couldn't see his expression. Who knew if he was pretending? Vice President Jing, what do I know? Su Xiaobin was more and more puzzled. What are you talking about? Let's do this. I can't explain it clearly on the phone. Let's meet and talk about it. Jing Xiaolu didn't want to talk nonsense with Su Xiaobin on the phone. Whether he really didn't know, she could only wait until the two sides met. Well, you tell me the place, and I will go now. Su Xiaobin was also anxious. He didn't know what Jing Xiaolu meant by the problem with the contract. He didn't care about Wang Lixia on the bed. He jumped out of bed and prepared to put on his clothes. Still at the Huihai Business Club. There is a coffee shop on the first floor. I will wait for you there, said Jing Xiaolu. Whether it was Su Xiaobin's trick or not, it couldn't be tested on the phone because Jing Xiaolu couldn't see Su Xiaobin's expression. She didn't know whether what he said was true or not. However, Jing Xiaolu had already determined in her heart that this matter should still be related to Su Xiaobin. After all, this kind of tampered contract was beneficial to the Jiangyan group. Okay, I will rush over right away. Su Xiaobin naturally didn't know what Jing Xiaolu wanted to do with him, but it was related to future cooperation. He couldn't ignore it. After hanging up the phone, Su Xiaobin began to quickly put on his clothes. Xiaobin, why are you in such a hurry? It is not too late to leave after you finish. Wang Lixia was a little reluctant. She just got into the mood, and this call came. Then, Su Xiaobin put on his clothes and left. Isn't this torture? Lixia, let's talk about it when you come back. I have to go out quickly. Jing Xiaolu said that there is a problem with the contract. This is a big deal. Su Xiaobin quickly comforted her. You can rest assured. I will definitely come back quickly. Okay then. Wang Lixia pouted with grievance. She also knew that there was no way to make Su Xiaobin stay now, so she could only do this. Well, when I come back, I will definitely compensate you. Su Xiaobin saw that Wang Lixia was a little unhappy, so he smiled and coaxed her. It's a promise. Then I will wait for you in bed. I won't get up. Wang Lixia said coquettishly. Okay. Su Xiaobin smiled. Lu Jifei, who was hiding outside the small door and eavesdropping, saw Wang Lixia's eager expression, and his heart suddenly moved. It would be great if I could replace Su Xiaobin. Chapter 1361. When Su Xiaobin answered the phone, Lu Jifei outside the door already understood that this call was from Jing Xiaolu. Lu Jifei didn't expect Jing Xiaolu to find the problem so quickly. Originally, he came to Su Xiaobin to tell Su Xiaobin the truth, but Jing Xiaolu was one step ahead of him. Hearing that Su Xiaobin was going to meet Jing Xiaolu, Lu Jifei originally wanted to stop Su Xiaobin. He was afraid that he would say something wrong after going. But when he glanced, he saw Wang Lixia naked on the bed, and the fire in his heart suddenly burst out. Su Xiaobin is gone. Can I do something for Su Xiaobin? Lu Jifei naturally didn't want to play some coercive means. As a result, it was bound to destroy the relationship between himself and Su Xiaobin. If this kid went to the Lu family's old man to complain about him, he would have to bear the consequences. However, if he didn't force her, would Wang Lixia be willing to play with him? Looking at Wang Lixia's appearance, she didn't seem to be a fickle person. I'm afraid it's difficult to deal with her with just words. Right. Lu Jifei suddenly thought of a great idea. How could I forget that thing? My incense is a top-secret weapon. At this time, it can be used again. Thinking of this, Lu Jifei was so excited that he trembled a little. The effect of this incense was to make people hallucinate, turning what they saw in front of them into what they had seen not long ago. This was a subconscious psychological cue, and the role of this incense was to strengthen this psychological cue. At that time, Jing Xiaolu and the lawyer, Wang Hongqia, also fell into the trap because of the psychological cue hallucination produced by this incense. They had read the contract without any problems before. Some of the data and details in the contract were imprinted in their minds. When they saw the modified contract for the second time, because they were more concerned about the data and details of those key parts, they couldn't help but compare the correct contract data and details with this problematic contract in their minds. However, because of the effect of the incense, they had hallucinations. The problematic data in the contract was naturally regarded as the correct data by them. Although there was a problem with the data in his eyes, his retinal nerves were no longer under the influence of the incense. The data that was fed back to his brain was the data of the correct contract, which led to the problem in the end. Similarly, if this incense was used on Wang Lixia, the effect would be the same. Now, Wang Lixia wanted Su Xiaobin to come back and do that thing with her. In this way, if Lu Jifei used the incense, the result would be. Wang Lixia must have regarded herself as Su Xiaobin. At that time, even if Wang Lixia found out that something was wrong, she could only suffer in silence. Because she was willing to have sex with him, she would not spread it around. Thinking of this, Lu Jifei felt that he was simply a super invincible genius in the universe. He could even think of such a wonderful idea. It seems that my IQ has really improved recently. Not only did I fool Jing Xiaolu, but I can also get into Wang Lixia's bed this time. It's really worth celebrating. Lu Jifei saw that Su Xiaobin was about to put on his clothes, so he quickly and carefully left the room. He jumped into his accord in a few steps and quickly drove away. He couldn't let Su Xiaobin see him here. If Su Xiaobin saw him coming, he would definitely remind Wang Lixia to put on her clothes. Then, his plan would be difficult to achieve. Now, it was better to hide first. When Su Xiaobin left, it would not be too late for him to come back. As for Su Xiaobin going to see Jing Xiaolu, he couldn't care so much. Whatever. If he wanted to see Jing Xiaolu, then he would see her. He was not afraid that Su Xiaobin would spill the beans because the contract had been signed. As long as he did not change his mind, even if Su Xiaobin agreed to re-sign the contract, it would be useless. Su Xiaobin would not be so stupid. Since this contract had been signed, and it was obviously beneficial to his own side, he would definitely find ways to maintain the validity of this contract. Thinking of this, Lu Jifei was relieved and dispelled the idea of communicating with Su Xiaobin first. After waiting for a while, he saw Su Xiaobin walk out of the intersection, stop a taxi, and leave quickly. Lu Jifei started the car again and drove in the direction of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang office. After parking the car at the door, Lu Jifei did not dare to make a big movement. He carefully took out a box of incense from the trunk of the car and smiled. Then he took out something like chewing gum and chewed it in his mouth. This was the antidote to the incense. After chewing, he would not be affected by the incense hallucinogen. Lu Luyo gave Su Xiaobin a piece of this kind of chewing gum because of this. However, Su Xiaobin did not know the real use of this chewing gum. He thought that Lu Luyo gave him the chewing gum to keep him fresh during the negotiation. Lu Jifei glanced at the office door and found that it was locked. It seemed that this Su Xiaobin was not a careless person. After leaving, he actually locked the office. However, this did not matter because Lu Jifei had the door key to the office. Su Xiaobin gave him one before to please him and make it convenient for him to enter and exit. He did not expect it to come in handy at this time. Lu Jifei carefully opened the door of the office and tiptoed into the office. He was afraid that the sound of the lock closing the door would arouse Wang Lixiao's vigilance, so he did not dare to lock the door. He just left the office door ajar. Lu Jifei knew that no one else would come to this office except for himself and Su Xiaobin. This office had been set up here for a year, and no cooperation had been negotiated, so who would come here? Lu Jifei came to the small door again, leaned down, and looked inside. He found that Wang Lixia had not put on her clothes yet. Half of her body was curled up in the quilt, and she was playing mobile games with full concentration. Hee, Lu Jifei smiled secretly. This is really a God-given opportunity. He was really afraid that after Su Xiaobin left, Wang Lixia would put on her clothes because she was afraid of the cold. It was now the end of March, and the weather was still very cold. If she really put on her clothes, then it would not be easy to handle. Although the incense could make Wang Lixia hallucinate and think that he was Su Xiaobin, if Wang Lixia really put on her clothes, and he asked her to take them off, it was hard to guarantee that he would not reveal any flaws and let Wang Lixia wake up from the illusion. Lu Jifei carefully lit the incense, then picked up a small piece of cardboard and fanned it in the direction of the door crack into the inner room where Wang Lixia was. This door had been there for some years, and the door crack was very big, so it was not difficult to fan the incense in. Although Lu Jifei was very anxious in his heart, he also knew that this incense would take a while to have an effect. In order to ensure that nothing would go wrong, he decided to wait a while before implementing his plan, so that it would be safer. Once, twice, thrice. Lu Jifei fanned himself tirelessly. He had never been so patient to do such an inexplicable thing, but today, he was unusually patient. Looking at the remaining dose of incense, Lu Jifei felt that it was almost enough. This had far exceeded the normal dose. Although some of the incense that was fanned into the inner room might dissipate, this should be enough. Lu Jifei adjusted his clothes, picked up the incense, and pushed the small door of the inner room with his hand. Unexpectedly, the small door was not locked. It saved Lu Jifei a lot of trouble. Presumably, Su Xiaobin thought that since the outer door was already locked, there was no need to lock the small door inside. Since he had already decided, Lu Jifei pushed the door and walked in without fear. He was not afraid that Wang Lixia would notice. Wang Lixia was playing a mobile game to kill time. The desire in her body had just been ignited by Su Xiaobin, but Su Xiaobin had something to do, so in order to suppress her thoughts, Wang Lixia could only play mobile games. However, she was very clear in her heart that although she was playing the game in her hands, her heart was not invested at all. She had been looking forward to Su Xiaobin coming back earlier. Hearing that there was movement at the door of the room, Wang Lixia quickly raised her head, but she saw Su Xiaobin pushing the door and coming in. She couldn't help but say, "Xiaobin, why are you back so soon? Are you done with the contract?" Looking at Wang Lixiao's expression, Lu Jifei knew that his incense had worked. After hearing Wang Lixiao's question, Lu Jifei was suddenly ecstatic. It seemed that Wang Lixia really regarded him as Su Xiaobin. Chapter 1362. And nothing serious, so I came back. Although Lu Jifei knew that he had become Su Xiaobin in Wang Lixiao's eyes, he didn't dare to speak too much. He was afraid of revealing flaws, so he responded vaguely. Lu Jifei was afraid that the effect of the incense would not last long, so he put the unburned incense on the cabinet not far from Wang Lixia's bed. What is that? Although Wang Lixia subconsciously regarded Lu Jifei as Su Xiaobin, she still asked curiously when she saw the incense that she had never seen before. Oh, it cleans the air. It's nothing. Lu Jifei replied casually. Oh. Wang Lixia was just asking casually. After hearing Lu Jifei's explanation, she didn't ask again. Instead, the desire that had been suppressed in her heart surged again. What are you still standing there for? Come on up. Wang Lixia's action was indescribably seductive. Lu Jifei was overjoyed after hearing it. This is really effortless. I haven't asked for anything yet, but Wang Lixia has taken the initiative first. Okay. I'm coming. Lu Jifei quickly agreed. He quickly took off his clothes, jumped on the bed, and hugged Wang Lixia. Jing Xiaolu was in a very bad mood now. Yang Ming was not at home. She thought that she could take charge alone and become Yang Ming's assistant. She didn't expect that there would be a problem in the first contract negotiation, and it was a very big problem. The most terrible thing was that neither she nor the lawyer, Wang Hongqia, knew how this mistake came about. Jing Xiaolu also understood that if she wanted to figure out the truth of the matter, she had to start with Su Xiaobin. The only thing she could do now was to find out what Su Xiaobin meant. President Bao, I called Su Xiaobin and made an appointment to meet in the coffee shop downstairs of Weihai Business Club in half an hour. Su Xiaobin hung up the phone and said with a sigh. She was in a very bad mood now. There was a problem in the first business negotiation. Her loss could be imagined. Motherfucker, this Su Xiaobin. He looks like a dog, but I didn't expect him to be so cunning. Bao Sanli had not cursed for a long time, but this time he finally couldn't help but curse. Brother Yang had just left and something had happened at home. What would Brother Yang think of her? Last time, Chu Daming and Lu Chan, the two vice presidents, had absconded with the money because of his bad judgment. This time, he had fallen into the contract trap again. Wouldn't this make him seem too stupid? Brother Yang would definitely suspect that there was something wrong with his ability. Thinking of this, Bao Sanli couldn't help but want to curse Su Xiaobin's 18 generations of ancestors. Wasn't this just making things difficult for him? But this time, the only good thing was that Jing Xiaolu also participated in the contract. Even if Yang Ming knew the result, he wouldn't be too angry with Yang Ming. Jing Xiaolu just smiled bitterly. She couldn't help it. At first, Su Xiaobin was very sincere in wanting to cooperate with her side, but she didn't expect him to play such a trick afterward. Things have already happened. Let's find a way to solve it. Yeah. Bao Sanli nodded. I really want to bring people to cripple Su Xiaobin. We are all serious big companies. How can we simply shout and kill? Jing Xiaolu actually thought that what Bao Sanli said was reasonable, but she knew that now that the company had been established, it was impossible to fight like a street punk. The most important reason was actually that Su Xiaobin couldn't be easily moved. Behind him stood the largest private enterprise in the province, the Jiangyan Group. The Jiangyan Group's relationship was complicated. In Songjiang City, Mingyang Entertainment was still very influential, but compared with them, Mingyang Entertainment was still a lot smaller. Although Su Xiaobin was only a small manager of the Jiangyan Group, he represented the Jiangyan Group. It was not easy to move him. The key is that shouting and killing is useless. Bao Sanli really had no way. The Jiangyan Group is not a soft persimmon. If we really do something to their people, there will be more trouble in the future. It's like this. Jing Xiaolu saw that Bao Sanli also understood this truth. She couldn't help but shake her head. Let me test Su Xiaobin's thoughts in a while. I will bring some people to protect you. Bao Sanli was afraid that Jing Xiaolu would have a problem. Compared with the contract, Jing Xiaolu was the most important. If there was a problem with the contract, Brother Yang would just scold him a little. But if Jing Xiaolu had a problem, Bao Sanli estimated that he would be finished soon. You don't need to mobilize so many people, right? Jing Xiaolu smiled. What if Su Xiaobin has any bad ideas? Bao Sanli said, there is nothing wrong with being careful. We will watch from afar. If there is nothing, we will not show up. That works too. Jing Xiaolu saw that Bao Sanli insisted on going, so she didn't say anything. After making a copy of the contract, Jing Xiaolu didn't dare to take the original copy directly. Originally, there was already a problem with the contract. If the other party took away or destroyed the contract in her hand, then she would have no evidence in her hand. Wouldn't Su Xiaobin be at his mercy in the future? Bao Sanli took people to the Huihai Business Club first. He sat down in a corner of the coffee shop on the first floor and closely monitored the movement at the door. Not long after, Su Xiaobin pushed the door and walked in. Looking at his appearance, he seemed to be very anxious. He looked around and didn't find Jing Xiaolu, so he took out his mobile phone and dialed Jing Xiaolu's number. Vice President Jing, this is Su Xiaobin. I have arrived at the coffee shop on the first floor of the Huihai Business Club. Where are you? Su Xiaobin's words were a little hurried. There was a problem with the contract. How could he not be anxious? I'm on the way. I'll be there soon. Jing Xiaolu didn't expect Su Xiaobin to be more active than her. She hung up the phone and sped up the car. Seeing Su Xiaobin's anxious look, Bao Sanli was a little confused at the moment. He was not a stupid person. Seeing Su Xiaobin's appearance, it didn't seem like he was the one who played the trick. If Su Xiaobin was the behind-the-scenes driver of this contract trap, why was he so active? He could put on airs. Even if Jing Xiaolu didn't come, he could wait there leisurely. He didn't have to rush to call Jing Xiaolu. But now, looking at Su Xiaobin's appearance, he didn't seem to be steady at all, as if he didn't know anything. It was really difficult for Bao Sanli to associate him with the behind-the-scenes driver. Could it be that my judgment is wrong? This Su Xiaobin is not the behind-the-scenes driver. So, since Su Xiaobin is not the behind-the-scenes driver, who is? Could it be the Jiangyan group? Just as Bao Sanli was lost in his thoughts, Jing Xiaolu pushed the door and walked in. Su Xiaobin had been anxiously staring in the direction of the door. When he saw Jing Xiaolu come in, he quickly stood up and walked over quickly. Vice President Jing, you are here. Please sit down. Su Xiaobin looked a little nervous and shook hands with Jing Xiaolu. They found a table and sat down. President Su, you came very quickly. Sorry to keep you waiting. Jing Xiaolu also had some doubts about Su Xiaobin's attitude. At this moment, her thoughts were somewhat similar to Bao Sanli's previous thoughts. Isn't this Su Xiaobin's appearance too strange? It seems that this matter was not caused by him, and he doesn't understand why. Vice President Jing, how can I not be faster? Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. After I went back, I planned to sleep. As soon as you called, I rushed over immediately. If there is a problem with this contract, it is a big problem. How can I not be anxious? President Su, what do you mean by this? Why can't I understand? Jing Xiaolu felt more and more baffled. Don't you know what's wrong with this contract? After Su Xiaobin listened to Jing Xiaolu's words, he suddenly said, Vice President Jing, of course, I don't know what's wrong with the contract. If I knew, I wouldn't let the problem happen. Jing Xiaolu looked at Su Xiaobin's eyes and fell into contemplation. Things seem to be more complicated than I thought. Chapter 1363. At this time, the contract between the two parties had been signed and sealed. It could be said that the dust had settled. Even if there was a conspiracy in it, there was no need to hide it. Since he had the courage to tamper with the contract, he was not afraid that the other party would find this problem. Since the other party found out, what was the point of denying it? It was better to be frank and say what was on his mind. Therefore, at this moment, Su Xiaobin's attitude seemed a bit strange. If the trap in this contract was really done by him, then there was no need for him to shirk at this moment. Since he had the courage to do it, it was impossible that he did not have the courage to admit it. The purpose of doing this was to let Jing Xiaolu suffer a loss and achieve the purpose of benefiting the Jiangyan group. If he did not admit it after doing it, didn't it mean that there was really a problem with the contract? Could it be re-signed? President Su, after I called you, didn't you look at the contract? Asked Jing Xiaolu. Vice President Jing, you know that I am just an office manager. For this cooperation, I am only acting as a vanguard in the negotiation. After the contract was signed, it was kept by our lawyer, Lu Luyo. I don't have the contract in my hand. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly after listening. Vice President Jing, what's wrong with the contract? Su Xiaobin's words did not seem to be false, especially when he mentioned Lu Luyo, which made Jing Xiaolu more suspicious of Lu Luyo. At that time, the actions he showed were inconsistent with a professional lawyer. It was completely like a layman's. However, Jing Xiaolu did not think that Lu Luyo was a layman. What kind of company was the Jiangyan Group? Even if it was a lawyer of a general small company, it was impossible to have this kind of principled problem. President Su, you should look at the contract first. We will talk about it after you finish reading it. Jing Xiaolu handed the copy of the contract to Su Xiaobin. I have marked the problems with a red pen. Su Xiaobin nodded and took the contract. Because Jing Xiaolu said that the problems had been marked, Su Xiaobin did not look at the contract line by line, but mainly looked for the places marked with a red pen in the contract. When he saw the page marked with a red pen, Su Xiaobin immediately raised his spirits, but then a look of surprise appeared on his face. His expression became a little weird. Vice President Jing, this contract, is it what we just signed? Why? President Su has the courage to do it, but he doesn't have the courage to admit it. Jing Xiaolu's heart sank. Could it really have nothing to do with Su Xiaobin? However, on the surface, he still spoke sarcastically. Vice President Jing, this contract is definitely not the one we just signed. Su Xiaobin said firmly, Vice President Jing, where did you get this contract? This contract is the one we signed before. Jing Xiaolu said, I copied it without any changes. I used color printing. You should have seen it. There are also the special seals of our two companies on the side. This. Su Xiaobin also knew that Jing Xiaolu would not joke about this kind of thing with him. Was there really a problem with the contract? However, that was impossible. She had reviewed the contract herself. Vice President Jing, didn't both of us review this contract several times before signing it? How did it become like this? President Su, since things have already happened, I don't need to beat around the bush with you. Jing Xiaolu sighed. The contract is indeed like this. I don't need to joke about this. President Su, I just want to ask you a question. Did this contract become like this under your instructions? Su Xiaobin's face suddenly changed. He didn't know why the contract became like this, but he thought of Lu Luyo's strange attitude today, and how they grasped the signing process tightly without letting him participate. He was shocked. Could it be that Lu Luyo really did something? Vice President Jing, I can guarantee that I definitely didn't do this. Su Xiaobin said quickly. He was clear about the power of Bao Sonli behind Jing Xiaolu. Using this method to trick the other party was simply courting death. Then how do you explain this? Jing Xiaolu also believed Su Xiaobin's words at the moment. He had no need to lie at all. I will call our President Liu. Su Xiaobin couldn't make the decision and took out the phone. President Liu. Aren't you fully in charge of this negotiation? Although Jing Xiaolu asked this, she also guessed something in her heart. That was, when the contract was signed this time, it seemed that Lu Luyo was Su Xiaobin's person, but it didn't seem to be the case. Vice President Jing, I will tell you the truth. At this time, Su Xiaobin had no way to hide anything. Although I am mainly responsible for this cooperation negotiation, I am just a small office manager. How can the group be assured that I will contact you myself? There are others. Who is President Liu? Lu Jiangyan. Jing Xiaolu frowned. How can the old man, Lu Jiangyan, personally ask about this kind of thing? Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. This time, Lu Jiangyan's grandnephew, Lu Jifei, is also in charge of the cooperation with me. Lu Luyo and the staff are all his people. I am an office manager, but I am actually a general without an army. What? Lu Jifei. Jing Xiaolu suddenly widened her eyes after hearing Su Xiaobin's words. In an instant, she understood. This conspiracy must be made by Lu Jifei, and the purpose was to target her. After hearing this name, Jing Xiaolu had no doubts about Su Xiaobin because the behind-the-scenes mastermind must be Lu Jifei, the Lu family's young master who wanted to settle accounts with her, but was stopped by Yang Ming. She just didn't expect that Lu Jifei was the grandnephew of the old man, Lu Jiangyan of Haiqing's Lu family. This situation was something that she didn't understand. Why, Vice President Jing, do you know our President Liu? Su Xiaobin saw Jing Xiaolu's strange expression, so he asked. It's nothing. You should ask your President Liu and see what he means. Jing Xiaolu was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but at the same time, she blamed herself. This thing turned out to be because of her. If she hadn't offended Lu Jifei before, there wouldn't be today's incident. I will call President Liu now. Su Xiaobin was also very optimistic about this cooperation. Now that such a thing happened, how could the cooperation still proceed smoothly? Even if it was reluctantly carried out according to the contract, the other party must hate him. It would be strange if they didn't take the opportunity to deal with him. Jing Xiaolu nodded, and Su Xiaobin dialed Lu Jifei's cell phone. Lu Jifei was very refreshed. He didn't expect Wang Lixia to be so cooperative with him. He was so happy that he could go to heaven. Suddenly, he heard a ringtone. Lu Jifei cursed in his heart. Why can't this call come at any other time? Why does it have to come now? He didn't want to pay attention to it, but the phone kept ringing. Lu Jifei was about to explode. Is it not over yet? But even so, he didn't want to answer the phone. Isn't it a joke to answer the phone at this time? Xiaobin, answer the phone first. Is it something important? Wang Lixia was also reluctant, but she was also afraid that Su Xiaobin really had an important call to miss. I don't care. I'll talk about it later. Lu Jifei sped up his sprinting speed. He didn't want to ruin his mood because of the phone call. Feeling the sudden power of Su Xiaobin, Wang Lixia also put the phone ringing behind her and frantically cooperated with Lu Jifei. President Liu is not answering the phone. Su Xiaobin's brows were twisted together. This is a big deal. Why did he suddenly not answer the phone? Not answering the phone. Jing Xiaolu's heart became heavier. It seemed that this matter was most likely related to Lu Jifei. So, Vice President Jing, I will go back first. I will find President Liu and ask clearly. Su Xiaobin said, "You can rest assured that I have great enthusiasm for this cooperation. I will not do anything that violates principles and business ethics. I will give you a satisfactory explanation. Then I will believe you." Jing Xiaolu could only say so. In fact, she had already felt it in her heart. Since the contract was signed, the possibility of re-signing it was not high. Especially after knowing that Lu Jifei's shadow was behind this, Jing Xiaolu was even more desperate. Lu Jifei had a grudge with her. He finally seized this opportunity to mess with her. How could he let it go so easily? When Bao Sanli heard that Lu Jifei was targeting Jing Xiaolu, his face suddenly looked a little weird. "Do you have a conflict? I've offended him before." Jing Xiaolu didn't hide it. "A few days ago, he took one of his men named Li Zhan to the school to find me. He wanted to retaliate against me, but Yang Ming happened to be there at the time and helped me out. I believe that after he left, he must have been unwilling. He investigated the company I was in. Perhaps he also knew that the company belonged to Yang Ming, so he came up with such a revenge plan. It turned out to be like this." Bao Sanli was shocked. "It seems that the other party has been planning for a long time. We also investigated the background of the Jiangyan group in advance. Their old man, Lu Jiangyan, also has the surname Lu, but who would have thought that the person you met was actually related to the Jiangyan group? Yeah, I didn't expect it. I thought that the other party was an insignificant person. It seems that I was careless." Jing Xiaolu said, "This time I have brought losses to the company. I will try my best to solve this matter." "What losses?" "These have to wait for Brother Yang to come back and make a decision." Bao Sanli listened to Jing Xiaolu's words. He was afraid that she would do something extreme, so he quickly said, "You should not provoke that Lu Feiji first. I will find someone to warn him and see his attitude." "It's not Lu Feiji, it's Lu Jifei." Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly. "President Bao, I'm afraid this matter is not so easy to handle. Since Lu Jifei dares to do this, he may have the support of Lu Jiangyan behind him." Bao Sanli nodded after listening to Jing Xiaolu's words. "That's right. In this case, you can't take the risk. If something happens to you, how can I explain it to Brother Yang?" Jing Xiaolu thought about it. This matter was really not something that could be solved with her own strength. At least, Lu Jifei would not easily let go. Thinking of this, Jing Xiaolu's mood was a little gloomy. It seemed that the only thing she could do now was to wait for the result from Su Xiaobin's side. Although she knew that Su Xiaobin's words would not change Lu Jifei, at least she could know the whole story. Su Xiaobin couldn't find Lu Jifei, so he could only return to the office first and contact Lu Jifei again. Because he had something on his mind, Su Xiaobin's car was a little fast. It didn't take long for him to return to the door of the office. Su Xiaobin took out the key and prepared to open the door of the office, but just as he wanted to open the door, he saw that the door of the office was slightly open. It was not locked. Su Xiaobin was shocked. "This is impossible. When I left, I locked the door of the office, and I even pulled it twice to make sure that there was no problem before leaving." Because Wang Lixia was not wearing clothes inside, Su Xiaobin was particularly serious at the time. It was impossible to make such a mistake of forgetting to lock the door. Did Wang Lixia get up and open the door by herself? However, Su Xiaobin denied this idea. This was absolutely impossible because when he was not at home, the office was usually locked. Wang Lixia didn't understand these business matters. Even if someone came to the door, Wang Lixia wouldn't pay attention to it. Moreover, even if Wang Lixia opened the door, it was impossible for her not to lock it, right? At the very least, she should close the door. On this cold day, leaving a gap in the door, isn't she waiting to die from the cold? Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin felt that something was wrong. His heart tightened. Could something have happened? Su Xiaobin put his ear on the door outside and listened to the movement inside. He didn't dare to be rash, fearing that there would be bad people breaking in. However, after listening for a while, he didn't find any unusual sounds, so Su Xiaobin carefully opened the door and quickly looked inside. The result disappointed him that there was no one inside. The office was empty, there was no one at all. Then, why is this door open? Su Xiaobin was slightly stunned. He suddenly remembered that the door of the inner room couldn't be locked. Su Xiaobin was shocked. He ran to the small door of the inner room and reached out to push the door open. Wang Lixia is inside. She is not wearing clothes, and the door is open. Will something happen to her? However, when Su Xiaobin's hand touched the small door, he heard a very strange sound coming from the inner room through the small door. Su Xiaobin was stunned. He was familiar with this sound. It was Wang Lixia's moaning sound. Su Xiaobin's face changed instantly. What the hell is this Wang Lixia doing? Could it be that she couldn't wait and solved it with her hands first? However, even if she solved it with her hands, there is no need to open the door wide, right? However, Su Xiaobin also thought of another possibility in an instant. That was, Wang Lixia wouldn't be cheating on him at home, right? Thinking of this situation, Su Xiaobin's face became more gloomy. He really had the urge to break the door, but he thought that he hadn't figured out the facts yet. What if it was really just Wang Lixia alone? So, Su Xiaobin resisted the urge to kick the small door open. He carefully leaned against the crack of the door and looked inside. He suddenly saw a scene that made him angry. Lu Jifei actually did that kind of thing with his girlfriend, Wang Lixia, in bed. Moreover, the posture was still a way that he wanted to try but had never tried before. Wang Lixia was actually very conservative in her bones. Su Xiaobin was her first man. Although they had lived together for several years, they still used more traditional postures when they were intimate. Su Xiaobin knew Wang Lixia's character, so he didn't force her to do anything. But now, she and Lu Jifei were actually using such extraordinary movements, which made Su Xiaobin have the urge to kill this adulterous couple. Su Xiaobin only felt that his heart seemed to be slammed by a sledgehammer, making him weak. This is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Chapter 1365. Su Xiaobin and Wang Lixia had been together for 3 years. Su Xiaobin was still clear about each other's personalities. The incredible scene that happened in front of him made Su Xiaobin somewhat puzzled. After the impulse, Su Xiaobin's mind immediately calmed down. Being able to endure in an office for many years without resigning to do other things also showed that Su Xiaobin was not a stupid person. He knew that his identity could not be recognized by the Lu family's children, but at the same time, he also knew that as long as he continued to stay in the Jiangyan group, he would always find an opportunity. Now, the opportunity had finally arrived. This also explained Su Xiaobin's vision. After so many years of waiting, his girlfriend actually cheated on him when he was about to do whatever he wanted. Su Xiaobin couldn't figure it out. What the hell is going on? Since he couldn't figure it out, then there must be something wrong. Although Wang Lixia was usually a little dissatisfied with Su Xiaobin's income and social status, she always compared her college roommate's boyfriend with Su Xiaobin. But even so, there was no emotional crisis between the two. Now, Su Xiaobin was about to succeed and sit on the throne of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang branch, but Wang Lixia cheated on him. This was simply incredible. When he was poor, his girlfriend did not leave him, but when he was successful, his girlfriend cheated on him. If it was anyone else, they would also feel that this matter was unusual. Moreover, if the object of the cheater was a promising man, Su Xiaobin could understand, but it seemed that the object of the cheater was Lu Jifei. Although Lu Jifei's surname was Lu, his actual status was not much higher than Su Xiaobin. Both of them were collateral descendants in the Lu family. Wang Lixia was also very clear about this. Su Xiaobin didn't agree that Lu Jifei was handsome. His head was like a football. With this kind of appearance, unless Wang Lixia's aesthetic point of view was wrong, it was impossible to like him. After analyzing the reasons and pros and cons in an instant, Su Xiaobin's heart calmed down. This matter revealed a trace of abnormality. He gritted his teeth and decided to wait and see. Watching his girlfriend being intimate with another man was a kind of torture for anyone, but Su Xiaobin couldn't help it. He had to bear with it at this moment to figure out the truth of the matter. A little impatience spoils great plans. After meeting Jing Xiaolu today, Su Xiaobin felt that this Lu Jifei had a problem. This contract is signed like this. Does this Lu Jifei want to frame me? Cooperation was carried out in the spirit of mutual benefit between both parties, but the contract signed with Jing Xiaolu became a contract that harmed others to benefit oneself. Under such a contract, could the cooperation between both parties be carried out happily? With Lu Jifei's actions, Su Xiaobin no longer trusted Lu Jifei in his heart. Now that Lu Jifei was intimate with his girlfriend, this matter was even stranger. Su Xiaobin clenched his fist. He decided to find out the truth. I can't fall into Lu Jifei's trap without knowing anything. Could it be that Wang Lixia was in cahoots with Lu Jifei from the beginning? At present, this was the only explanation. Seeing Wang Lixia's unusual cooperation with Lu Jifei, Su Xiaobin was even more distressed. Fortunately, Lu Jifei was already in the final sprint stage. Soon, the two people ended the battle and fell on the bed, gasping for breath. Lu Jifei only had time at this time. He took his mobile phone and looked at it. When he saw that the caller was Su Xiaobin, he frowned suddenly. This Su Xiaobin won't come back, right? Thinking of this, Lu Jifei wanted to get away as soon as possible. He was trying to figure out how to tell Wang Lixia that he would leave for a while. However, before he could say anything, he saw Wang Lixia staring at him with an inexplicable look of disbelief and fear. Wang Lixia had just gone through intense exercise. She sweated a lot, and her mind became a lot clearer. The effect of the incense seemed very weak. At this moment, when she saw Su Xiaobin take the mobile phone, she wondered. Su Xiaobin doesn't use this mobile phone, right? Why did he change his mobile phone after going out? When she glanced at the name of the person who missed the call on the mobile phone screen, she was even more shocked. Why is this caller also called Su Xiaobin? Could it be that Su Xiaobin called himself? How is this possible? Just as she was about to ask, the image of Su Xiaobin in front of her became blurred. In the end, it actually turned into Lu Jifei. Yes, it was Lu Jifei. Because the incense was about to lose its effect, coupled with the difference of the mobile phone and the strange caller ID, Wang Lixia instantly woke up, so that Su Xiaobin in front of her was restored to Lu Jifei. Lu Jifei's heart skipped a beat. What is this look? However, he said carefully with a smile on his face, Lixia, what's wrong with you? Ah! Wang Lixia screamed sharply, shattering Lu Jifei's eardrums. Lu Jifei! Why are you in my bed? Seeing Wang Lixia's shocked and frightened expression, Lu Jifei knew that he was exposed. Originally, he wanted to leave before Wang Lixia woke up, so that Wang Lixia couldn't find any evidence. Even if she confronted Su Xiaobin afterward, it was nothing. Even if Su Xiaobin denied it, Wang Lixia would only think that she was confused and had a dream. There would be no other doubts. However, even if there were doubts afterward, Lu Jifei was not afraid. Anyway, Wang Lixia took the initiative at that time. He believed that she would be embarrassed to confront him, so she could only suffer in silence. But now, Wang Lixia actually recognized him. Things had become a bit complicated. Chapter 1366. Don't be noisy. You said it was not voluntary. Who would believe that? Lu Jifei snorted coldly. If you don't want to lose face, bury this matter in your heart. I'm telling you, it won't do you any good to talk about it. When Su Xiaobin breaks up with you, you will still suffer. Wang Lixia was shocked and angry, but she also knew that Lu Jifei was telling the truth. If this matter was publicized, it was indeed not good for her. She did do it voluntarily. If she was forced, she believed that Su Xiaobin could forgive her, but in the current situation, would Su Xiaobin believe that she was not voluntary? Seeing Wang Lixia's silence, Lu Jifei knew that his intimidation had worked, and he was relieved. As long as Wang Lixia did not cry, things would be much easier. Lu Jifei didn't know why, but when he saw Wang Lixia stop, she seemed to have acquiesced to this result, and his heart began to move again. Many people were like this. They didn't know how to be satisfied. After getting something, they wanted more. Lu Jifei seemed to be such a person. This could be seen from his thoughts at the moment. Lu Jifei was now not thinking about the consequences of Wang Lixia's crying, but how to continue to maintain this relationship with Wang Lixia. Thinking of Wang Lixia's charming body, Lu Jifei's heart rippled. He couldn't stop. Lixia, things are already like this. In the future, if you are still so obedient, I promise that you will eat well. Lu Jifei said, you can rest assured that I won't let Su Xiaobin notice our relationship. Wang Lixia's face changed, but she didn't expect Lu Jifei to be insatiable. He actually proposed such a condition. Isn't this asking me to be Lu Jifei's long-term lover? How could Wang Lixia agree? She was not such a shameless person. She already felt sorry for what happened before. She had decided that regardless of whether Su Xiaobin forgave her or not, she would confess to Su Xiaobin. How could she continue to be Lu Jifei's lover? Isn't this a joke? However, at this time, her heart moved, and she suddenly thought of an idea. Perhaps, if she pretended to agree to Lu Jifei's request first, she might be able to find out the truth from Lu Jifei's mouth. Thinking of this, Wang Lixia gritted her teeth and made up her mind. Perhaps, this was her last chance to fight back. She had to seize it. She took a deep breath and said to Lu Jifei, let me think about it. If she agreed at once, Lu Jifei might not believe it and suspect whether she had any motives or impure intentions. However, Wang Lixia said that she would consider it, so he had no doubt. Considering it meant that Wang Lixia was tempted. However, she was struggling in her heart. Was it worth it? Okay. Think about it. Lu Jifei was very happy in his heart. Think about it. If you become my lover, how can I treat you badly? Wang Lixia seemed to have really sunk into deep thought, as if she was considering the gains and losses of this matter. In fact, Wang Lixia's heart was already filled with anger, but she deliberately concealed it and made herself look expressionless. Lu Jifei did not urge her and quietly waited for Wang Lixia's answer. After a long time, Wang Lixia finally spoke, what benefits can I get from being your lover? Su Xiaobin only felt that all the strength in his body was drained in an instant. He looked at Wang Lixia in front of him in disbelief. Is this still my girlfriend, Wang Lixia? She actually asked such a shameless question. Could it be that she is willing to degrade herself to such a point? Su Xiaobin tried hard to control his emotions. Subconsciously, he kept reminding himself that Wang Lixia was not that kind of person and would not betray him. However, the facts happened in front of him, so he had to believe that this was true. In desperation, just as he was about to break in, Lu Jifei spoke, which once again suppressed Su Xiaobin's violent emotions. Benefits? Of course, there are many. Lu Jifei smiled. What do you want to buy? I can satisfy you. Of course, when I have a foothold in the Lu family, I will arrange for you to be transferred to a position in the Jiangyan group. At the very least, you will be a middle-level leader. Really? Wang Lixia resisted the anger in her heart and pretended to be very surprised as she looked at Lu Jifei. You won't lie to me, right? Of course not. I, Lu Jifei, am a man of my word. How can I lie to you? Lu Jifei said quickly, you can rest assured that I will do what I say. Okay, then I promise you. Wang Lixia took a deep breath as if she had made a big decision. She nodded and said, Great. Lu Jifei was pleasantly surprised. He took Wang Lixia's body and held her in his arms. Wang Lixia suddenly felt disgusted, but her face remained calm as she pushed Lu Jifei away. Wait, I still have a few requests to tell you. You can only do it after you promise me. You say it, you say it. Lu Jifei's heart was about to burst with joy. At this moment, the beauty had a request, so he naturally agreed. What requests do you have? As long as I can do it, I will satisfy you. First, this matter must not be known by Su Xiaobin. You have to help me keep this secret. Can you do it? Asked Wang Lixia. Ah. Lu Jifei was stunned. He didn't expect this request. Even if Wang Lixia didn't mention it, he would keep the secret. His brain wasn't flooded. How could he say this in front of Su Xiaobin? So, he said, of course, this is not a problem. I am also afraid that he will know. Is there anything else? Okay, then second, don't come to me when there is nothing. I will naturally call you when I miss you. Wang Lixia thought about it and said her second request. You are looking for me. Lu Jifei frowned. He couldn't accept this request. Chapter 1367. Hee, it seems that you understand my true nature. Lu Jifei was very proud. Lixia, you can rest assured. This time, it is not my full strength. Let's do it again. I will definitely be better than this time. Of course, I believe in you. Wang Lixia's voice was very coquettish, making Lu Jifei's bones soften. Let's not do it again. Let's try it now. Lu Jifei suddenly began to be eager to try. Even if you don't feel tired, I am tired. Wang Lixia shook her head coquettishly. Why don't you know how to cherish me? Okay, then wait. Let's talk about it later. Seeing that the beauty in his arms had an opinion, how could Lu Jifei not comply? That's more like it. Wang Lixia nodded. Actually, this is a matter between a man and a woman. It's fine if you think it through. That's true. Lu Jifei saw that Wang Lixia thought it through, and he was very happy. How could he object? Right, you tell me. What trick did you use just now? Why do I think you are Su Xiaobin? Wang Lixia pretended to be curious and asked. However, this was her real purpose of pleasing Lu Jifei against her will. She wanted to know the reason. Maybe you're mistaken. Lu Jifei said perfunctorily. He was not afraid that Wang Lixia would know the truth, but he didn't want to be looked down upon by the beauty, so he didn't want to say his despicable means. Impossible. Wang Lixia said, actually, when we did that before, I found that something was wrong because you are much more powerful than Su Xiaobin. But when I looked at you, you were still Su Xiaobin, not you. Wang Lixia's words were pure nonsense. She was simply lying to Lu Jifei. However, if she didn't say so, Lu Jifei probably wouldn't tell the truth. Hearing Wang Lixia praising his strength again, Lu Jifei was a little confused. Since Wang Lixia wanted to know, then Lu Jifei did not intend to hide it anymore. If Wang Lixia hated him because of this little thing, then the loss outweighed the gain. Su Xiaobin, who was outside the door, was stunned. He seemed to understand Wang Lixia's purpose of doing this. He wronged Wang Lixia. Previously, when Lu Jifei and Wang Lixia were doing that, Su Xiaobin was watching outside the door. It was nonsense to say that Lu Jifei was better than him. At most, he had more tricks. It seemed that Lu Jifei was a weakling. Now it seemed that Wang Lixia had done all this to pave the way for this problem. Su Xiaobin also understood that the reason why Wang Lixia did not resist before and cooperated with Lu Jifei was because the person she saw was not Lu Jifei, but himself. Well, her. This woman, so all those pretentious performances before were all for the sake of finding out the truth of the matter. Okay. I'll tell you. Since Lu Jifei decided not to hide it, then he would tell the truth. He also wanted to build a deeper relationship with Wang Lixia now, so it was too late to please her. And, you tell me. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. You even know how to disguise yourself. Wang Lixia said, right, I like the prison break male lead. Next time when you mess with me, can you disguise yourself as him? This is not a disguise. Hearing Wang Lixia talk to him so casually, Lu Jifei was even more unguarded. He said, actually, this is a kind of camouflage. Camouflage? What do you mean? Asked Wang Lixia. I have a magical incense. A Thai boss accidentally bought it in an ancient tribe in India. He gave me some. Lu Jifei explained, when this kind of incense is lit, it will give people an illusion, making them involuntarily fall into an illusion. They will see the things in front of them as things in their memory. This is the so-called camouflage method. Illusion. You mean that when I saw you as Su Xiaobin, it was an illusion? Wang Lixia asked, then why did I see you as Su Xiaobin? Why not someone else? As the saying goes, what you think in the day, you dream at night. You must have been thinking about Su Xiaobin before. When I saw you two doing it halfway, you must have been thinking about him coming back quickly. So, when you saw me enter the door, you couldn't help but think of me as the Su Xiaobin in your mind. That's why I went to your bed, and you didn't refuse. Lu Jifei said proudly. In other words, your incense can use people's memory to make the things in front of them uncontrollable. Wang Lixia thought. Sure enough, it turned out to be such a despicable means. Something like that. This kind of incense can pass the things in the memory to the brain through the retinal nerve, making people think that what they see is the actual effect. Lu Jifei explained, Lixia, you are quite smart. You can't let a fool be your lover, right? Wang Lixia smiled, but she hated Lu Jifei in her heart. He used such a despicable means to make her mistakenly think that he was Su Xiaobin, so she had sex with him in a daze. This was absolutely unforgivable. That's right. Let's do it again. Lu Jifei saw that Wang Lixia seemed to have been completely captured by him at this moment, and he was very proud in his heart. No, Su Xiaobin is coming back soon. You don't want him to catch you in bed, right? Wang Lixia pushed Lu Jifei. There will be plenty of time in the future. Don't give yourself away. That's right. There will be plenty of time in the future. After listening to Wang Lixia's words, Lu Jifei's heart shuddered. He was so happy that he almost forgot the time and place. After being reminded by Wang Lixia, he knew that this was not a safe place, so he nodded solemnly. Dear, then I'll go first. Okay. Let's go. Wang Lixia nodded. I won't send you off. You don't have to send me off. I'll go by myself. Lu Jifei jumped out of bed and quickly put on his clothes. Su Xiaobin outside the door took a deep breath, and his clenched fist slowly loosened. It was not a good idea to rush in at this time. Although Lu Jifei said the reason, this evidence was obviously not reliable if Su Xiaobin really wanted to take Lu Jifei down. However, he had made up his mind that he would never let Lu Jifei go. For the time being, before he thought of countermeasures, Su Xiaobin decided not to confront Lu Jifei head-on. Moreover, Su Xiaobin also had another plan for not entering the door at this moment. That was, he wanted to test and see what Wang Lixia was thinking. Although he guessed that Wang Lixia did all this afterward was to pretend to be obedient to Lu Jifei's incense, Su Xiaobin still had some doubts in his heart. After all, which man could really let go of this kind of thing? Therefore, this was also an opportunity for Wang Lixia. If Wang Lixia really confessed to him and said Lu Jifei's modus operandi, he decided to forgive Wang Lixia. After all, this was not Wang Lixia's fault. He would not vent his anger on Wang Lixia. However, if Wang Lixia concealed this, then Su Xiaobin would never be with such a woman again. Hearing that Lu Jifei had begun to put on his clothes in the room, Su Xiaobin quickly flashed out of the office and entered a small supermarket opposite. President Su, are you here to buy something? The owner of the supermarket knew Su Xiaobin and knew that he was the manager of the Jiangyan Group's Songjiang office. He didn't know how much power Su Xiaobin had, but the Jiangyan Group was well known, so he was very respectful to Su Xiaobin. I'm buying a pack of cigarettes. Su Xiaobin absent-mindedly threw out 100 yuan. What kind of cigarettes do you want? Asked the boss. Whatever. Su Xiaobin's eyes stared out of the window, watching Lu Jifei walk out of the door of the office. He felt like a knife was twisted in his heart. He couldn't wait to kick this person to death, but he couldn't do so at this moment. Chapter 1368. Seeing Lu Jifei starting the car and leaving from a distance, Su Xiaobin's clenched fists slowly loosened, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. Incense, the incense that can cause hallucinations. Under the impulse just now, Su Xiaobin had no time to think about it, but now after his mood calmed down slightly, Su Xiaobin frowned. Previously, he had the thought that he seemed to have caught something, but he couldn't grasp it. At this moment, Su Xiaobin had some epiphany. Previously, when signing the contract, Lu Luyo was also arranging incense in the conference room of the Huihai Business Club. Thinking of this, the doubts in his heart were suddenly confirmed. Why did Jing Xiaolu and Wang Hong review the contract so many times, but there was still a problem in the end? It must be the incense. It was only under the effect of the incense that the content of the contract that Jing Xiaolu and Wang Hong saw became the content of the contract in their minds before, thus achieving the purpose of a smokescreen. Lu Jifei, since you are heartless, don't blame me for being unrighteous. Since I know, I will definitely tell Jing Xiaolu about this matter and let your efforts go down the drain. President Su. President Su. The supermarket owner saw Su Xiaobin staring out of the supermarket window in a daze with an unpredictable expression, so he quickly called him. Oh. What's the matter? Su Xiaobin recovered and looked at the supermarket owner. Your change and your cigarettes. The supermarket owner put the cigarettes and change in Su Xiaobin's hand. Su Xiaobin grabbed the cigarettes and change and put them in his pocket. He strode out of the supermarket and walked to his own office. Lu Jifei had already driven away, but Su Xiaobin's mood was very complicated. When his hand touched the door handle of the office door, he hesitated. He and Wang Lixia had many years of relationship foundation. They knew each other when they were in school, and it was quite difficult for them to be together until now. He didn't want to give up this relationship. However, he was afraid that Wang Lixia would deceive him. He had decided that if Wang Lixia confessed to him what happened before, then he would definitely let bygones be bygones. He would cherish this woman more in the future and not let her suffer a little bit of harm. But if Wang Lixia pretended not to know anything, could he continue to live with such a woman? Although Su Xiaobin had previously determined that Wang Lixia was feigning civility toward Lu Jifei, who could guarantee that this was the case? The affairs of the world were unpredictable. Everything could be changed before it was confirmed. When Lu Jifei left, he had already locked the door of the office. Su Xiaobin took out the key and opened the door of the office. After taking a deep breath, he strode in. Su Xiaobin tried to make his expression look normal, as if nothing had happened, and walked into the house. Before he reached the inner room, he heard the sobbing sound in the room. Su Xiaobin's heart tightened, and he quickly quickened his pace. Before, he was afraid that Wang Lixia would hide something from him, but now, he began to care about Wang Lixia, afraid that she would think too much and do something stupid. When he opened the door of the inner room, he saw Wang Lixia curled up in the quilt, crying silently. Su Xiaobin was shocked and ran over. Lixia, what happened to you? Xiaobin. I'm sorry. Wang Lixia looked up and saw Su Xiaobin, but she didn't stop crying. Instead, she cried even more sadly. Hearing Wang Lixia's words, all the discomfort in Su Xiaobin's heart toward Wang Lixia dissipated at this moment. Since Wang Lixia could say this, it meant that she didn't want to hide anything from him. Lixia, don't say it. I know everything. Su Xiaobin's heart softened, and he forgave Wang Lixia. What? You know everything. Wang Lixia was stunned. She raised her head in surprise and looked at Su Xiaobin inconceivably. When I came back, I just heard the conversation between you and Lu Jifei. Su Xiaobin sighed. After Wang Lixia listened to Su Xiaobin's words, she suddenly showed a horrified expression. Xiaobin, you have to believe me. I said those words to lie to him. I don't want to be his mistress. I hate him. I can't wait to kill him. I know. How can I not understand what you mean? Su Xiaobin grabbed Wang Lixia's hand and comforted her with a bitter smile. You want to find out Lu Jifei's means. How can I not hear it? Otherwise, I would have rushed in long ago. I just didn't want to alert the enemy, so I held back my anger and listened to him. You believe me. Wang Lixia listened to Su Xiaobin's words and breathed a sigh of relief. Naturally, I believe you. Su Xiaobin nodded solemnly, and then there was a hint of resentment in his eyes. Lixia, you can rest assured. I will definitely avenge you. Wang Lixia wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and reached for a mobile phone. Xiaobin, I recorded what Lu Jifei said before. Can we use this as evidence? You recorded it. Su Xiaobin suddenly rejoiced. He didn't expect Wang Lixia to have a backup plan. He suffered from not being able to catch Lu Jifei's evidence. This was great. With the recording in this mobile phone, it was useless for Lu Jifei to deny it. Wang Lixia handed the mobile phone to Su Xiaobin. Although I am only the Lu family's grandnephew with a different surname, I believe that the old man, Lu Jiangyan, will definitely help me this time. Su Xiaobin held the mobile phone in his hand and said bitterly. Don't call the police. Asked Wang Lixia. The incense was taken away by him. We don't have strong evidence. If he bites back, I'm afraid. Su Xiaobin sighed. Moreover, in this matter, if we call the police, the Lu family will definitely protect Lu Jifei. In any case, we can't wash our dirty linen in public. At home, the old man can help us. If we really make a fuss, the old man will definitely find a way to suppress the matter. At that time, we will be weak. Okay, I will listen to you. Wang Lixia nodded. As long as Su Xiaobin could stand up for her, she was satisfied. After several stops to refuel, the plane landed at the airport closest to the butterfly castle. As soon as they left the airport, the people from the butterfly family arrived to greet them. Mr. Fong, Mr. Yang, the old master asked me to pick you up. The person who came was the butler of the butterfly family, Mu Enping. Yang Ming had seen him once when he was here for training. Uncle Mu, hello. Yang Ming greeted politely. Although he came to break off the engagement, he still had to have the minimum courtesy. Just as Fong Tian said, even if the marriage didn't work out, the relationship between the two families couldn't be shelved because of breaking off the engagement. Butler Mu nodded to Yang Ming in a friendly manner. He was still very satisfied with this future son-in-law of the butterfly family from the bottom of his heart. Butler Mu was the confidant of the old man, Wang Songshan. He naturally knew about the matter between Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. He also knew about the farce of breaking off the engagement this time. Of course, the final result was predictable. It was nothing more than Wang Songshan and Fong Tian joining forces to mess with Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. It was a bit like an eye for an eye. It was a bit funny when he thought about it. These two old guys were already so old, but they still didn't respect themselves and were sulking with the younger generation. Wasn't it because when this engagement was first proposed, Wang Xiaoyan didn't agree, and Yang Ming didn't agree? However, thinking about it was just thinking about it. Butler Mu's face didn't have any ripples. He couldn't expose himself, otherwise, Wang Songshan and Fong Tian would hate him. Old Mu, your martial arts seem to have improved. Fong Tian looked at the hale and hearty Butler Mu and was surprised. How long has it been? It's only been a few months, but Butler Mu seems to have become younger. Chapter 1369. Aren't you the same? Butler Mu smiled and said, people at our age will go downhill if we don't exercise. Fong Tian nodded. Due to the particularity of the assassin profession, when people reached a certain age, their physical functions would age. It was difficult to maintain their peak state. Whether it was Fong Tian, Mu Enping, or Wang Songshan, they did not slack off on their physical training. However, people would always age one day. No one could defy nature. They did this to prevent themselves from regressing. It was difficult to make further progress. Under Mu Enping's guidance, Yang Ming and Fong Tian got into an off-road vehicle. Because the location of the butterfly castle was in the mountains, ordinary cars couldn't drive in. Only off-road vehicles could do it. What did old Wang arrange? Fong Tian, Mu Enping, and Wang Songshan had been friends for decades, so they spoke casually without so many rules. You and Mr. Yang stay in the butterfly castle first. Tonight, the master will meet with Mr. Yang first. Tomorrow, he will arrange to meet with the Mississippi. Both of you can talk to each other again. Mu Enping still gave considerable respect to Fong Tian. After all, his identity was a butler. They were familiar with each other, but the rules couldn't be broken. Hearing Fong Tian's question, Butler Mu was a little amused. He thought, didn't you already finalize the itinerary plan with Wang Songshan? Why are you asking me instead? Thinking about it carefully, it was nothing more than acting in front of Yang Ming. Okay, then I'll trouble you. Fong Tian nodded. Yang Ming had no objection to these arrangements. Since he had made up his mind to break off the engagement this time, no matter what the arrangement was, he would not change his original intention. For the miss of the butterfly family whom he had never met, whether she was as beautiful as a fairy or not, Yang Ming would not be interested in her. There were too many beautiful women. Yang Ming couldn't marry every one of them, right? That was simply an international joke. Even if the island he bought in Africa was big enough, his energy was limited. What about Mr. Yang? Asked Butler Mu. I will follow your arrangements. Yang Ming smiled. Butler Mu nodded and said nothing. The car drove all the way to Butterfly Castle. This time, Yang Ming came here openly, unlike the last time when he snuck in and suffered a lot on the way. After entering the Butterfly Castle, Yang Ming and Fong Tian were arranged in 2 adjacent rooms. There were many vacant guest rooms in the Butterfly Castle, so Yang Ming and Fong Tian occupied 2 of them. After Butler Mu left, Yang Ming came to Fong Tian's room. Old man Fong, what is this Butler Mu planning? Why do I feel like the way he looks at me isn't right? Fong Tian thought to himself that he was lucky. Luckily, Yang Ming was only suspicious and didn't see anything suspicious. His apprentice was really not ordinary. He was so keen that he could feel the unusualness of Mu Enping's gaze. This Mu Enping most likely wanted to see Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan make a fool of themselves in the end, so no matter how well he concealed it now, it was inevitable that he would inadvertently reveal a trace of strangeness. It was this unintentional strangeness that aroused Yang Ming's suspicion. Maybe it's because you want to break off the engagement. Although the young lady is not willing to marry you, she will lose face anyway, so it's natural for her to look at you strangely. Fong Tian found a reason to explain. However, Yang Ming heard that Fong Tian's reason was really reasonable, so he believed it. It turns out to be like this. He was a little disgruntled in his heart. Your young lady is not willing to marry, and I am not willing to marry. This is the best of both worlds. What is so strange about it? Women were just weird. It's like when you pursue a girl, although she doesn't agree with you and doesn't like you, if you suddenly stop pursuing her, she will definitely feel uncomfortable in her heart. Therefore, Yang Ming didn't doubt Fong Tian's reason anymore. Yeah, you are better. When I rejected Wang Songshan's sister, the Wang family wanted to kill me. Fong Tian still had some lingering fear when he thought about it. Yang Ming smiled after listening. Your situation is different. You are Uncle Wang's sister. She likes you, but you rejected her. She naturally hates you. AI. Fong Tian was a little absent-minded when this matter was mentioned. If I didn't reject her, she wouldn't have chosen to commit suicide. Yang Ming was a little silent. Although he knew that Fong Tian and the Wang family master's sister had a grudge, he didn't expect the ending to be like this. Fong Tian rarely mentioned it. This time, he mentioned it when they were talking about it. Forget it. Let's not think about this. Fong Tian sighed and waved his hand, but his expression was indescribable. Yang Ming suddenly had a feeling that there seemed to be some secret between old man Fong and Wang Songshan's sister. Could it be that Fong Tian actually likes Wang Songshan's sister? Although Yang Ming and Fong Tian had a master-disciple relationship, one didn't respect the old, and the other didn't respect the old. Therefore, the relationship between the two was like a teacher and a friend. There was no taboo when they talked. Thinking of this, Yang Ming asked directly, Old man Fong, you actually like the Wang family master's sister in your heart, right? Fong Tian's eyes flashed. He looked up at Yang Ming with some astonishment. You brat, how did you know? Yang Ming was just testing casually. He didn't expect to be guessed correctly. He was a little amused. I guessed it. It turned out to be like this. So you tricked me. You little brat. Fong Tian was stunned. He was angry and amused. Why are you asking so much? I'm just asking. I'm a little curious. Yang Ming said, since both of you have feelings for each other, why not be together? Could it be that your brain was pierced? Fong Tian heard Yang Ming's question and rolled his eyes. He thought, you and Wang Xiaoyan still have feelings for each other. Why are you still breaking off the engagement? If my brain was pierced, your brain would be flooded with water. However, this could only be thought about. He couldn't say it out loud. At least before this plan was implemented, the truth couldn't be revealed. At that time, I had a wife. Fong Tian glanced at Yang Ming and said faintly. The woman who sought refuge with Husan. Yang Ming knew that Fong Tian had a tragic love story. He found a woman, but this woman hooked up with Husan. Husan framed Fong Tian and sent him to the detention center. Not her. She was my first wife. Fong Tian waved his hand. But she passed away later. Beautiful women are short-lived. You have a wife, but it doesn't hinder you from being with Uncle Wang's sister, right? After Yang Ming heard it, he was still baffled. Besides, you remarried later. Can't you marry Uncle Wang's sister? Do you think I'm as fickle as you? At that time, I was very devoted. Fong Tian glared at Yang Ming. Devoted? Are you devoted or are you fickle? Yang Ming also rolled his eyes at Fong Tian. You have admitted that you like Uncle Wang's sister. Are you still devoted? Cough cough. Fong Tian suddenly blushed when he heard Yang Ming's words. He coughed twice awkwardly. Wasn't that an accident? I didn't want to hurt each other, so I chose to break off with Ruoxue. But I didn't expect to hurt Ruoxue. Ruoxue. Yang Ming heard this name for the first time. Wang Songshan's sister, Wang Ruoxue. Fong Tian sighed slightly. The beautiful figure of that year appeared in front of him, making his heart tremble. Yang Ming nodded. Wang Ruoxue, a very nice name. That year, after rejecting Ruoxue, she left a note saying that she wanted to end her life and disappeared. Fong Tian smiled bitterly. When I remarried, there was no news of her. Whether she was alive or dead, there was no news. Then you didn't look for her again later? Asked Yang Ming. Why not? Fong Tian said, you know my relationship. I cast an inescapable net like this, but there was no news of her. You can't find her if she's alive or dead. Asked Yang Ming. You can say that. Fong Tian nodded and sighed. However, Ruoxue herself is also an outstanding assassin. If she really wants to hide, I may not be able to find her. Hearing Fong Tian say this, Yang Ming knew that there was still a glimmer of hope in Fong Tian's heart. He hoped that Wang Ruoxue did not commit suicide, but hid. In this way, there was still hope. If this is the case, it's really hard to say. Yang Ming hesitated and said, it's always good to have hope. Maybe Senior Wang Ruoxue will live in seclusion for the rest of her life. I hope so. Fong Tian sighed and waved his hand. Okay, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. Have you really decided to break off the engagement? Of course, it's true. Otherwise, why are we here? After Yang Ming heard it, he smiled strangely. What do you mean? Since we're here, we can naturally be engaged, Fong Tian said. Chapter 1370. Yang Ming was speechless. Why? Do you want me to marry the butterfly family's miss? I'm afraid that you will regret it in the future, and regret it for life. Fong Tian shrugged and said, just like me. Yang Ming was speechless again. No, I definitely won't. You have the emotional foundation, but I don't. Fong Tian glanced at Yang Ming with an indescribable meaning. Well, this is your decision. I tell you, you won't have this opportunity again. You have to think about it. Others don't have a chance to woo the butterfly family's Mississippi. You have a chance, so why don't you seize it? Uncle Wang asked you to be a lobbyist? Yang Ming frowned. You don't think that you owe Senior Wang Ruoxue, so you want me to marry the Wang family's miss to make up for it, right? Cough cough. Fang Tian laughed twice and didn't speak. Yang Ming was too lazy to care about him. He shrugged, left Fang Tian's room, and returned to his room to rest for a while. Su Xiaobin hated Lu Jifei. Even Lu Jifei's attitude toward the Mingyang Security Company's contract was very displeasing. The final operator was himself. If this contract was enforced, then this newly formed escort company would not be able to go too far. It was estimated that it would come to an end soon after it was established. Under this kind of unequal cooperation, it was impossible for Mingyang to run the company wholeheartedly. It was good enough that they didn't deliberately slack off and play dirty tricks. It was impossible to expect them to do things sincerely. The so-called cooperation was based on mutual benefit between both sides. If one side benefited, it was not called cooperation, but an unequal treaty. No one was willing to fully implement the contract under this kind of treaty. The Mingyang Security Company was no exception. Therefore, Lu Jifei's approach was simply trapping him. He got the performance, but he left him here to clean up his mess. It was simply an asshole's behavior. At that time, if the company did not operate well and closed down, this bad debt would be on his head. What did it have to do with Lu Jifei? So the more Su Xiaobin thought about it, the angrier he became. He originally thought that Lu Jifei was here to help him. Now, it was simply a double loss. Of course, Su Xiaobin would not sit still. This matter had nothing to do with him. Why should he hide it for Lu Jifei? He picked up the phone and dialed Jing Xiaolu's number. Vice President Jing, this is Su Xiaobin. President Su, how is it? Jing Xiaolu had been anxiously waiting for Su Xiaobin's call. Vice President Jing, I have figured out the matter. It was Lu Jifei's doing. Where are you now? I will find you and tell you the truth. Su Xiaobin hated Lu Jifei. If he didn't push Wang Lixia down, maybe Su Xiaobin would help him hide it. After all, this involved the overall interests of the Lu family. If he told Jing Xiaolu the truth, he would be suspected of being a traitor. But now, there was a crack between Su Xiaobin and Lu Jifei, and it was a crack that was impossible to repair. Just after Su Xiaobin saw Lu Jifei doing that kind of thing to Wang Lixia, Su Xiaobin had already formed a gap with Lu Jifei. He would never let Lu Jifei have an easy time. I'm still in the Huihai Business Club. You figured out the truth of the matter so quickly. Jing Xiaolu was a little suspicious. Su Xiaobin just went back for more than half an hour. How did he figure out the truth so quickly? Is he just being perfunctory with me? Yes, let's meet and talk. Su Xiaobin said affirmatively, I'm going now. Okay, then you come over. Although Jing Xiaolu didn't quite believe it, seeing Su Xiaobin's solemn vow, she believed it for the time being. The most important thing was that now she had no choice but to believe in Su Xiaobin. Since things had developed like this, she could only get the truth from Su Xiaobin. Now the only hope was that Su Xiaobin was not in cahoots with Lu Jifei. In this way, it was possible to reverse the matter. Otherwise, it was really at the end of the line. For a long time, Jing Xiaolu had wanted to make some achievements and show her ability to take charge in front of Yang Ming. She wanted to become Yang Ming's assistant, a useful person to Yang Ming's career. When Yang Ming gradually became inseparable from her, the matter between the two would be logical. But now, the first business was screwed up. Jing Xiaolu really wanted to die. Am I really that stupid? I can even fall into a contract trap. I'm no different from a big fool. This time, Su Xiaobin came very quickly with hatred for Lu Jifei in his heart. He drove all the way. After running countless red lights, he finally arrived at the Huihai Business Club in 20 minutes. Walking quickly to Jing Xiaolu's table, Su Xiaobin sat down with a gloomy face. He didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Vice President Jing, all of this is because of that bastard Lu Jifei. Jing Xiaolu listened to Su Xiaobin's address to Lu Jifei, and she was a little stunned. Aren't the two of them in cahoots? Even if Lu Jifei did this behind his back, the profit was also for the Jiangyan group. Why did Su Xiaobin call Lu Jifei a bastard? Su Xiaobin saw Jing Xiaolu's expression, and his face was slightly red. I have some personal conflicts with Lu Jifei. Sorry, my address is a bit extreme. Jing Xiaolu raised her eyebrows, but she didn't expect Su Xiaobin to have a conflict with Lu Jifei. However, this was other people's private affairs. If Su Xiaobin didn't say it, Jing Xiaolu couldn't ask. She nodded and said, I also guessed it was him, but how did he do it? Incense. He used a special kind of incense. When it came to incense, Su Xiaobin gritted his teeth in hatred. If it weren't for this bullshit, how could Wang Lixia be ruined by Lu Jifei for no reason? Incense. Jing Xiaolu frowned slightly, seeming to think of something. Indeed, in the signing conference room, there were a few lit incense sticks. Jing Xiaolu didn't care at first. She thought it was to decorate the signing venue more elegantly, but now, after Su Xiaobin said so, she couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Yes. Su Xiaobin said, this was obtained from a wizard in India by a Thai boss that Lu Jifei knew. After it is ignited, it can have a psychedelic effect on people. You mean, because of the effect of this incense, Wang Hongqia and I both had hallucinations, so we signed the contract in a daze. Jing Xiaolu didn't believe it. That's right. Su Xiaobin nodded. What is certain is that the contract that Lu Luyo gave you before is a real contract. There is no problem. When you and Wang Hongqia check this contract, you will definitely pay special attention to some of the key details above. Is that right? Jing Xiaolu nodded. Yes, in the contract, the most critical parts naturally have to be paid attention. So, these details are particularly deep in your and Wang Hongqia's memory. Su Xiaobin said, when Lu Luyo replaced the contract, you also had doubts. When the contract was reviewed a second time, what you focused on was nothing more than the previous details. Jing Xiaolu nodded and motioned for Su Xiaobin to continue. The effect of this incense is like this. The details you see are not really fed back to the brain through the retinal nerve under the effect of the incense. Your brain has already hallucinated under the effect of the incense. The things you see are actually the things you remembered deeply before, so no matter what you see in the contract, the feedback data in your brain is the previous correct ones. So, you and Wang Hongqia unknowingly fell into the trap of the contract, Su Xiaobin explained. It turns out to be like this. Jing Xiaolu's face had changed. This was the first time she heard of this technique. In the past contract fraud cases, there was no such situation. It could be said that this was simply impossible to guard against. If they were not careful, they would fall into the other party's trap. It could be said that this time, they did not lose unjustly. It was not that they were not capable enough, but the opponent was too insidious. He actually used this kind of underhanded method to achieve his purpose. That's about it, said Su Xiaobin. How do you know so much? Jing Xiaolu calmed down. She also had a trace of doubt about Su Xiaobin's words. Why would he tell me this? You know, he and Lu Jifei are on the same side. Lu Jifei sneaked into the office after I left and secretly lit the incense. Su Xiaobin's face became extremely ugly at the moment. Previously, Wang Lixia and I did it halfway. She naturally hoped that I would go back earlier. So, under the influence of the incense, she regarded Lu Jifei as me and had that kind of relationship with Lu Jifei. When I went back, they just finished. Wang Lixia also found that something was wrong and questioned Lu Jifei. In order to let Wang Lixia continue to maintain the relationship with him as a lover, Lu Jifei didn't hide the effect of the incense. I happened to be standing at the door and heard it. Although Su Xiaobin omitted the details in the middle and didn't elaborate, the general meaning was clear. Jing Xiaolu was a little stunned when she heard it. She didn't expect there to be such a change in it. At this moment, she also understood why Su Xiaobin's expression was so ugly. She also understood why he didn't hesitate to tell the truth to her. Su Xiaobin probably hated Lu Jifei and was eager for him to make a mistake. Su Xiaobin was also happy to see Lu Jifei use her to retaliate against Lu Jifei. It turned out to be like this. I'm really sorry to let you talk about the pain in your heart. I shouldn't have asked so much. Jing Xiaolu was a little apologetic. After all, no matter what purpose Su Xiaobin had to tell her the truth of the matter, it was difficult enough for him to tell this painful thing to her again. It's nothing. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. I will never let this matter go. The cooperation between us will not stop because of Lu Jifei's mischief. I will report the truth of the matter to the group and ask the chairman to allow us to re-sign the contract. Then, I'll trouble you. Jing Xiaolu was naturally very grateful when she heard that Su Xiaobin was willing to deal with it. Although she now knew the truth, there was no evidence. Even if she went to court, she couldn't win against Lu Jifei. Vice President Jing, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. I need to be alone. Su Xiaobin knew that even if the contract was changed back, Jing Xiaolu would never let it go. Lu Jifei's hatred was set. With the strength of Ming Yang Company, not to mention retaliating against the Jiangyan Group, it was more than enough to retaliate against Lu Jifei. This was also the reason why Su Xiaobin told Jing Xiaolu these things frankly. Of course, President Su. Don't be too sad. Jing Xiaolu was also very sympathetic to Su Xiaobin's experience. This man was also unlucky enough to be cuckolded by Lu Jifei. Su Xiaobin took a long breath, stood up, and walked quickly to the door. He left the Huihai Business Club and quickly disappeared from Jing Xiaolu's sight. After getting Su Xiaobin's guarantee to deal with it, Jing Xiaolu didn't feel much relaxed. Su Xiaobin and Lu Jifei, who had more authority in the group, would decide the final result of this matter. Su Xiaobin's words were repeated to Bao Sanli and Wang Hongqia. The two were also stunned for a long time after listening. Bao Sanli slammed the table. This Lu Jifei is too much. I believe that Brother Yang won't let him go easily if he is here. The Lu family is behind him. Even if we are angry, what can we do to him? Jing Xiaolu also had no choice. She didn't expect Lu Jifei to have such a strong background. If she knew this, she wouldn't have provoked him in the first place. Yeah, Xiaolu, since Su Xiaobin promised to deal with it, we can only wait for his result now. Bao Sanli said, if he succeeds, we will remember Lu Jifei's account for the time being. If there is a chance in the future, we will definitely get back at him. But if the deal fails, we have to hand this matter over to Brother Yang to decide. Let me think about it again. Jing Xiaolu didn't want to tell Yang Ming about it. If Yang Ming knew about it, he would definitely look down on her and think that she was incompetent. However, since things had reached the point where they were out of control, and she didn't have a good solution, she could only trouble Yang Ming. Bao Sanli also understood Jing Xiaolu's mood. When he heard Jing Xiaolu say this, he had to say, well, Xiaolu, you think about it again. If you really can't do it, you can contact Brother Yang again. Bao Sanli also had no choice. He didn't want to offend either side, so he could only drag it out one day at a time. After all, this company belonged to Yang Ming's family. Sooner or later, it would belong to Jing Xiaolu's family, so he still chose to be silent for the time being. Jing Xiaolu, where did your little cleverness go? Jing Xiaolu was a little annoyed that she was useless now. She was being played around by others, but she didn't have any power to fight back. It was simply too shameful. She had always been the one bullying others. Now that she was being bullied by others, she could only watch helplessly. This feeling was really uncomfortable. Jing Xiaolu sulked at herself for a while, and her mood slowly calmed down. If I were to put myself in Lu Jifei's shoes, would I reveal any flaws after doing this? Chapter 1372. After Su Xiaobin left the Huihai Business Club, he did not stop and drove directly to Haiqing. Driving the car that Lu Jifei temporarily provided for him, Su Xiaobin felt a little funny. Driving Lu Jifei's car to complain to Lu Jifei was quite novel. However, Su Xiaobin really didn't like the old Toyota that Lu Jifei lent to him. His bad feelings toward Lu Jifei did not reduce. Lu Jifei lent him this car just to make it more convenient for him to sign the contract. It was a bit shameful to drive this kind of car, so Su Xiaobin would rather take a taxi than drive. Now, he was anxious, so he drove this car out. Looking at the magnificent building in front of him, Su Xiaobin sighed in his heart. He was also a child of the Lu family. Some people were leaders in the headquarters when they were born, but he was placed in the office. There was a huge difference in office environment and salary. Su Xiaobin went to negotiate, but Lu Jifei got the first credit after the negotiation. He could enter the group as a middle-level leader, but Su Xiaobin still stayed in the office. It was nothing more than possible to be promoted to the general manager of the branch. However, this was not the case. The most annoying thing was that Lu Jifei did not treat Su Xiaobin as a partner of the same level at all. He simply played Su Xiaobin like a monkey. He even treated Su Xiaobin like a fool. Not only did he bypass Su Xiaobin after signing the contract, but he also set a trap for the other party. Although this could be said to be for the group's interests, aren't you pushing yourself into the fire pit? The contract was signed, and you left, but you left me here to continue to cooperate with the Mingyang Security Company. If the other party had resentment, it would be directed at me. Moreover, what Su Xiaobin couldn't tolerate the most was that Lu Jifei actually took advantage of the time when he met Jing Xiaolu to push Wang Lixia down. A friend's wife shouldn't be bullied. It seemed that Lu Jifei didn't regard Su Xiaobin as a friend, but a tool that could be used. Since Lu Jifei was heartless, then Su Xiaobin also thought about it. Lu Jifei couldn't blame Su Xiaobin for being unjust. After parking the car, Su Xiaobin touched the copy of the contract in his pocket and Wang Lixia's mobile phone. Su Xiaobin resolutely walked into the building of the Jiangyan Group. "Hello, sir. What can I do for you?" As soon as he entered the door, Su Xiaobin was stopped by the reception lady at the front desk in the lobby. Su Xiaobin smiled bitterly. As the office manager, he was insignificant in the eyes of others. He only came back once a year for the year-end report. It was understandable that these receptionists did not know him. "I am Su Xiaobin, the manager of the Jiangyan office." As Su Xiaobin spoke, he took out a company's identification card from his pocket and handed it to the reception lady. "I have something important to see the chairman." Now it seemed that Lu Hua's eldest son, Lu Zhenan, won, but Lu Jiangyan was not very optimistic about Lu Zhenan. Lu Zhenan could sit in the position of vice president because of his age advantage. He entered the company a few years earlier than Lu Zhiqiao and Lu Huamei. He only became the vice president because of Lu Hua's care. On the contrary, Lu Jiangyan was very optimistic about his youngest granddaughter, Lu Huamei. She entered Yenjing University at the age of 14. When she was 15, her father, Lu Heng, had a car accident. Lu Huamei took a break from school and entered the company. She went from a small marketing manager to the position of financial director. Although she had Lu Jiangyan's support behind her, even a fool would understand that Lu Jiangyan would not support her if she did not have the ability. Although Lu Jinan and Lu Zhiqiao were dissatisfied with Lu Huamei's participation, they had repeatedly suggested to their father, Lu Hua, to exclude Lu Huamei, but they were sternly rejected by Lu Hua. Lu Hua was not stupid. The old man was not dead yet. Wouldn't it make the old man vigilant if they did it so obviously? At that time, if he were to be removed from his position, then the losses would outweigh the gains. However, although Lu Jinan and Lu Zhiqiao were also fighting each other, they were in agreement when it came to Lu Huamei's problem. If they could get Lu Huamei out of her position, they did not mind joining hands once. Although the complex situation of the group was not something that a collateral descendant like Su Xiaobin could participate in, he was also very clear about it. If he went to Lu Jinan, would he help him? Su Xiaobin was in a dilemma. However, Lu Jiangyan went to Donghai and would only come back after a week. I can't wait for him here for a week, right? If Lu Jifei took the initiative to complain, I would lose the opportunity. It was unknown what would happen then. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin could only go to Lu Jinan and hope that he could help him. Okay, please help me arrange it. Thinking of this, Su Xiaobin said to the receptionist. Su Xiaobin sweated a bit. He thought, from the perspective of your own interests, it is naturally very good, but have you considered the interests of others? Hearing that Su Xiaobin's tone was somewhat rhetorical, Lu Jinan suddenly frowned. Why? Is there anything wrong? Vice President Lu Jifei used extraordinary means to deceive the other party into signing this contract. The other party noticed that something was wrong and came to me with the contract. Su Xiaobin said with a bitter smile. Extreme measures. What do you mean? Lu Jinan looked at the contract. Isn't this signed by the other party? Is it forged? That's not the case. Things are like this. Su Xiaobin said that Lu Jifei used incense to sign the contract. Lu Jinan listened to Su Xiaobin's words as if he was listening to a myth. He asked, is what you said true? Since you know what incense he used to deceive the other party into signing the contract, why didn't you stop it at that time? I didn't know at the time. Lu Jifei did it behind my back. Su Xiaobin said, it was only after the other party's people found me that I learned the truth. So, you didn't see all this with your own eyes, but you heard it from hearsay. Who told you this? Lu Jifei. Lu Jinan had some opinions about Su Xiaobin in his heart. The contract has been signed, and it is obviously beneficial to our side. You don't help your own company, but you speak for others. What do you mean? Moreover, you also went behind Lu Jifei's back to complain about him. This is obviously destroying the unity. No, I inferred it, said Su Xiaobin. Su Xiaobin, you are also an office manager. Can't you be more mature? You inferred it. How did you infer it? Lu Jinan raised his eyebrows and changed the topic. Did you receive any benefits from the Mingyang company? Why do you speak for them everywhere? It's not like this. Su Xiaobin was shocked and quickly waved his hand. Vice President Lu, I have evidence here. What evidence? Asked Lu Jinan. I have a recording of what Lu Jifei said on my phone. You will understand when you listen to it. Su Xiaobin took out Wang Lixiao's phone that recorded Lu Jifei's conversation from his pocket, turned to the recording column, and pressed the play button. You think about it. You have become my lover. Can I treat you badly? Lu Jifei's voice came from the phone. What is this? Lu Jinan frowned at the time. Vice President Lu, you listen to it first. Su Xiaobin saw that Lu Jinan was a little impatient and quickly explained, there is an explanation later. Lu Jinan nodded and listened patiently. He could still recognize Lu Jifei's voice, but when he heard Wang Lixia speak, he couldn't help but ask, who is this woman? She is my girlfriend, Wang Lixia. Su Xiaobin gritted his teeth and said with some resentment, Vice President Lu, you have to give me justice. Lu Jifei used incense to occupy my girlfriend. Lu Jinan did not answer. His heart became dignified as he listened to the conversation between Lu Jifei and Wang Lixia. It seems that there is indeed such a thing as incense. However, Lu Jifei was one of his own people. He had just joined Lu Jinan. This time, if the negotiation was successful, Lu Jinan would arrange for him to be the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department or the Deputy Director of Finance in the company. These two positions, one was held by Lu Zhiqiao, and the other was held by Lu Huamei. This made Lu Jinan's usual work very constrained. This time, Lu Jifei joining Lu Jinan was an opportunity. Lu Jinan believed that Lu Jifei had this stepping stone of cooperation performance. If Lu Jinan recommended him, his father should also follow Lu Jinan's wishes. Lu Jinan's business methods were not good. He could sit in this position entirely because of his father's contributions and the advantage of his age. After he sat in the position of vice president, he did not do much. Most of the time, he was competing for power with his younger brother and sister. Therefore, when Su Xiaobin wanted to sue Lu Jifei, his first thought was that Su Xiaobin was an outsider. He could not keep him. Oh, so to speak, this incense thing does exist. Lu Jinan said faintly, however, what do you want me to do for you? This contract is obviously beneficial to our company. You are also one of the contributors. I want an explanation for Lu Jifei occupying my girlfriend. Su Xiaobin said excitedly. Oh, this matter. I also heard the recording. Your girlfriend is not a good thing. She even wants to be Lu Jifei's lover. It is a consensual matter. How can I decide for you? You are not married, and she is not married. Love is free. Lu Jinan smiled faintly and clicked the delete button. This kind of thing that destroys the internal unity of the company should be deleted. Don't. Su Xiaobin grabbed the phone, but he saw a few typed words on the phone screen in despair. The recording file has been deleted. You. Su Xiaobin's eyes were about to burst into flames. He did not expect that Lu Jinan not only did not help him, but also deleted the evidence. He pointed at Lu Jinan, and his whole body was trembling. Why did you delete it? Okay, Xiaobin, don't be excited. Lu Jinan changed into a sincere attitude. I deleted it for your own good. If this matter continues, it won't do you any good. What the old man hates the most is infighting. If you use this obviously consensual thing as evidence, the old man will definitely have a bad opinion of you. At that time, you won't even be able to keep your position as the manager of the office. Lu Jinan's approachable tone calmed Su Xiaobin's excited expression slightly. He looked at Lu Jinan suspiciously. Really? Why would I lie to you? Lu Jinan smiled bitterly. Take my own situation as an example. Chapter 1374. In fact, Lu Zhiqiao, Lu Huamei, and I are also fighting for power. The old man saw it, but he didn't interfere. Why is that? Lu Jinan paused for a moment. That's because we are fighting with real swords and spears, and not using this kind of backstabbing method. Indeed, you said that your wife was raped by Lu Jifei with incense, but how can the recording in your phone be called evidence? I heard that it was consensual, let alone the old man. Do you think the old man will care about this matter after hearing it? Don't you think it's good enough that you and Wang Lixia worked together to trick Lu Jifei? Su Xiaobin was stunned. He only heard that old man Lu did not interfere with the power struggle of Lu Jinan and others, but he did not expect there to be such a deep rule. Although he didn't know whether it was true or not, looking at Lu Jinan's expression, Su Xiaobin had to believe it. After all, thinking about it carefully, the evidence in the phone was really not much evidence. Lu Jinan was right. The words that Wang Lixia said in the phone recording were all words to please Lu Jifei. Who would believe that she was pretending to please him? Anyone who listened to this recording would think that these two people were consensual, not forced by one party. Even if Lu Jifei succeeded with incense, it could be heard from Wang Lixia's words that she finally agreed to be Lu Jifei's lover. This was not evidence at all. If old man Lu Jiangyan heard it, he would definitely not support him. Su Xiaobin did not think about calling the police, but there was not enough evidence to do so. Secondly, he was afraid that Lu Jiangyan would have an opinion of him after knowing that he called the police. After all, the patriarchs of very big families were very protective. It was okay to fight openly and secretly in the family, but it was not okay to go out and lose face. Now that he heard Lu Jinan say this, Su Xiaobin was also discouraged. Then, this matter is over. When you have made some achievements in the future, are you afraid that you won't have a chance to deal with him? Lu Jinan said with a smile, but he said in his heart, Lu Jifei is now my person. Will I give you a chance to deal with him? Just based on your attitude in front of me, I have to deal with you. Otherwise, keeping someone like you, who would always use underhanded methods to accuse others behind their backs, would be a ticking time bomb. Lu Jinan had a plan in his heart, but on the surface, he said calmly, this time, I can strongly recommend you to be the general manager of the Songjiang branch. You also know that this position is very popular now. There are people in the group who want to compete for this position. Lu Zhiqiao is the head of the Human Resources Department. It is almost certain that he can arrange a trusted aide. But this time, I will talk to my father and give you a compensation. Isn't this a blatant lie? However, this lie made people feel very comfortable. Lu Jinan snorted and said, what specialties are you buying? I think you are going to seduce someone's wife, right? Ah! Lu Jifei's hand that was holding the phone suddenly froze, and the sweat on his head also fell. How does this Lu Jinan know my whereabouts? Is it a casual guess, or does he really know something? No need. Do you know that Su Xiaobin has already come to me to complain about you? Lu Jinan snorted and said, hurry up and get over here. Otherwise, you kid won't even know how you died. Okay. I will go over right away. President Lu, you can rest assured. I will definitely drive the car like an airplane, or else I will not be called Lu Jifei. Lu Jifei quickly promised. This kid. Lu Jinan shook his head helplessly and hung up the phone. If it weren't for Lu Jifei's loyalty to him and his pleasing words, Lu Jinan wouldn't have cared about him at all. Motherfucker, how does this Su Xiaobin know about this? How did he get to Lu Jinan so quickly? Lu Jifei cursed secretly. He was somewhat inexplicable, but he did not dare to delay. He quickly ran to the front of the car, got in the car, and went straight to Haiqing. On the highway, Lu Jifei and Su Xiaobin's cars passed by each other, but neither of them paid attention to the opposite car. Lu Jifei was now shocked and angry, and he was a little nervous. He didn't know if Lu Jinan would deal with him. Su Xiaobin, on the other hand, was vexed and had a trace of indignation in his heart, but he was powerless. Lu Jifei had recently become a frequent guest of the Jiangyan group. The reception lady at the door also knew that he was the favorite of Vice President Lu Jinan, so she smiled and nodded to him. Mr. Liu, are you looking for Vice President Liu? Lu Jifei nodded. Yes, President Liu just called me and asked me to come over. The reception lady nodded, called to confirm, and then said to Lu Jifei, Mr. Liu, Vice President Liu is waiting for you in the office above. Lu Jifei took the elevator to the door of Lu Zhenan's office. He knocked on the door and heard Lu Zhenan's voice coming from inside, Please come in. President Liu, I am here to ask for forgiveness. As soon as Lu Jifei entered the door, he lowered his head and made a look like he had made a mistake. His tone was quite sincere. I have caused trouble for you. Okay, you little brat. Lu Zhenan looked at Lu Jifei's appearance as a slave, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. If I didn't cover for you here, Su Xiaobin might bring this matter to the old man. Thank you, President Liu, for dealing with me. Lu Jifei said quickly, I will risk my life to serve President Liu. Don't say those useless things. Let me ask you. Is the incense thing that Su Xiaobin said true? Lu Zhenan waved and asked. Lu Jifei didn't dare to hide anything from Lu Zhenan. He carefully explained, yes. There is indeed such a thing. I used incense too. I didn't ask you this shit. I asked if you also used this incense when you signed the contract. Lu Zhenan glared at Lu Jifei and asked. Yes, when I signed the contract, I also used incense. When Lu Jifei heard that Lu Zhenan didn't intend to pursue the matter of him sleeping with Su Xiaobin's wife, he was relieved. This matter seemed to be over. And, Su Xiaobin guessed it. He came to me and wanted to re-sign the contract, said Lu Zhenan. Chapter 1375. What? Resigning? How can that be? Lu Jifei was shocked. I spent a lot of effort to sign the contract like this. How can I just resign it? You tell me the truth. This contract was signed normally. You also made a great contribution. Why did you sign the contract like this? Lu Zhenan frowned. When Su Xiaobin took out the contract and explained everything to him, he began to wonder why Lu Jifei signed the contract like this, but he didn't ask because he didn't think Su Xiaobin would know. Because I have some personal grievances with Jing Xiaolu of the Mingyang Security Company. This time, she was in charge of the negotiation, so I thought of such a way to mess with her. Anyway, the final contract signed is also beneficial to our company. Said Lu Jifei. Beneficial my ass. Lu Zhenan glared at Lu Jifei. Su Xiaobin told me before. You tricked them like this. Can they still cooperate with you sincerely? There is a gap between the two sides, and this newly established company won't go far. This. Lu Jifei really didn't think of this. He just wanted to mess with Jing Xiaolu before, and he felt that this contract was very beneficial to the company. He didn't consider the feelings of the Mingyang Security Company at all. Now that he heard Lu Zhenan's reprimand, he suddenly realized that cooperation was two-sided. It wasn't just one party that had the final say. Lu Zhenan sighed. This Lu Jifei still has a conspiracy, but he still doesn't know enough about the business world. However, it doesn't matter. My company doesn't lack talents. What I lack is this kind of conspiracy theorist who can help me get rid of my opponent. Well, you don't have to worry. I have already thought of a backup plan for you. Lu Zhenan said, except for Su Xiaobin who knows about your use of incense, don't tell anyone else. I will also ask Su Xiaobin to shut up. Thank you, President Liu. Su Xiaobin quickly thanked him. After this time, I will transfer you back to the head office to be a Deputy Director of Finance or Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department, said Lu Zhenan. Leave the mess on your side to Su Xiaobin. Let him be a branch manager. If the company has problems in the future, blame it on him. President Liu is wise. Lu Jifei said quickly. In fact, he also thought so. In the future, he would look for Su Xiaobin for all the bad things. It had nothing to do with him. If you hadn't revealed the incense, it would have been a great achievement for you. After all, everyone saw the benefits in the contract. And you are the hero of this negotiation. As for how this branch will develop in the future, you don't have to participate. Lu Jinan said, okay, you go back first. Yes, President Liu. Lu Jifei responded. Right, that Wang Lixia isn't a good person. She promised you, then she recorded what you said with her mobile phone and sent it to Su Xiaobin to complain to me. If I didn't delete the recording quickly, you wouldn't be able to bear the consequences this time. Lu Jinan said, you should be careful in the future. Don't get involved with that Wang Lixia. Why do you like her so much? What kind of woman can't he have? He just had to provoke Su Xiaobin's woman. Please rest assured, President Liu. If I touch Wang Lixia again, I will castrate myself with a knife. Lu Jifei promised. Lu Jinan was happy after listening to Lu Jifei's promise. He waved his hand and let him go out. After Lu Jifei left, Lu Jinan hesitated. He picked up the phone and dialed the phone number left by Su Xiaobin. Su Xiaobin. I'm Lu Jinan, said Lu Jinan. Vice President Liu, hello. I'm Su Xiaobin. Su Xiaobin had just returned to the office. Before he could take off his coat, Lu Jinan's call came. He secretly thought that Lu Jinan was efficient. Su Xiaobin, I discussed with my father about what you told me, but he refused. Lu Jinan said, the company's contract is a big deal. Once it is signed, how can it be changed casually? If this precedent is broken, all the companies who have signed contracts with our company will come to our door and ask to re-sign the contract. Wouldn't it be a mess? But... Su Xiaobin did not expect that the request to re-sign the contract would be refused. But this time, the situation is different. This contract was signed under unfair circumstances. How can it be compared with a general contract? Yes, you said it's not normal. I know it's not normal, but what about others? Others don't think so. Lu Jinan said, I believe what you said about incense, but my father and grandfather don't believe it. They won't take this kind of weird reason seriously. I can't help you even if I want to. Vice President Liu, is there no turning point? Su Xiaobin asked unwillingly. Lu Jinan thought, if you didn't call me Vice President Liu, and you were more humble, maybe I could help you. But now, you are obviously not on the right track. Do you still expect me to help you? You can just be the stepping stone for Lu Jifei's promotion. No, this is a big group, a big company. It's not up to you to decide. Lu Jifei said, the contract is signed. If you want to change it, isn't it a joke? Okay, that's it. Wait. Before Su Xiaobin finished speaking, Lu Jinan had hung up the phone. Su Xiaobin had to smile bitterly. Xiaobin, how is it? Wang Lixia had taken a shower and dressed up. She sat on the bed anxiously waiting for Su Xiaobin to come back. However, Su Xiaobin was answering the phone as soon as he returned home. When he finished the call, Wang Lixia quickly asked. AI, don't mention it. Su Xiaobin's face showed a painful look. Your matter was suppressed by the group's Vice President Liu. He didn't let me continue to make trouble. He said that he would give me the position of the general manager of the Songjiang branch as compensation. What kind of compensation is this? Can't you take over the position of the general manager of the Songjiang branch? Wang Lixia was anxious when she heard it. I thought I could, but Vice President Liu analyzed the situation. I really don't have much hope. Su Xiaobin sighed. What's going on? Asked Wang Lixia. The Lu family, Lu Zhenan, Lu Zhiqiao, and Lu Huamei are all fighting for power. Now that the Songjiang office has been upgraded to the Songjiang branch, the general manager of this branch has become a lucrative position. These three people all want to place their cronies in this position. Su Xiaobin explained, especially Lu Zhiqiao, he is the director of the group's personnel department. It is more convenient for him to place his cronies. So it is really hard to say if this position can be mine. What about now? Asked Wang Lixia. Now that Lu Zhenan has recommended it, it should not be a big problem. Su Xiaobin said with a bitter smile. However, it doesn't matter if I take the position or not now. It is better not to be the general manager. Why is that? Why is it better not to be the general manager? Wang Lixia was surprised after listening to Su Xiaobin's words. Because Lu Jifei made things difficult and signed the contract like this. As Su Xiaobin spoke, he told Wang Lixia in detail about Lu Jifei using incense to sign the contract. Why is it incense again? Wang Lixia frowned after listening. In this way, the relationship between the two sides has become bad before the cooperation has started. You are really right. The position of the general manager of this branch was originally a good position, but now, I am afraid that no matter who sits in this position, they will not be peaceful. That's right, said Su Xiaobin. Anyway, I still have to study the countermeasures with Ming Yang's vice president Jing first. After all, the matter was caused by us. We can't just ignore the other party. Chapter 1376. Yang Ming returned to his room. He had just taken a shower and changed into his pajamas. He was going to watch TV and rest for a while before calling Qin Mengyan and the others at home. However, he heard a knock on the door from outside the room. Who is it? Yang Ming didn't expect someone to knock on the door at this time. He clearly put the "Do Not Disturb" sign outside the door. Are the people who knocked on the door blind? It's me. Fang Tian's voice came from outside the door. Yang Ming was helpless. Why is this old man Fang Tian here again? Didn't I just come back from his room? However, Yang Ming could ignore other people knocking on the door. If Fang Tian knocked on the door, Yang Ming couldn't do anything. He had to open the door and complain, "Are you blind? Didn't you see the 'Do Not Disturb' sign?" Yang Ming saw another person beside Fang Tian halfway through his words. It was the current family master of the butterfly family, Wang Songshan, whom he met once during the Chinese New Year training here. Yang Ming quickly put away his previous playful expression and replaced it with a serious expression, "Greetings, Uncle Wang. Why? Aren't you going to invite us in?" Wang Songshan looked at Yang Ming, nodded and asked. Yang Ming didn't know if his nod was appreciation or something else, but it wasn't good to delve into it. He quickly moved aside and said to Wang Songshan and Fang Tian, "Uncle Wang, Fang. Master, please come in." Fang Tian smiled and looked at Yang Ming with interest. "Old man Wang is not an outsider. You can continue to call me whatever you want. Old man Fang is more pleasing to the ear. I feel a little unnatural when you call me master." Yang Ming laughed twice and didn't answer. He could be rude when he was with Fang Tian, but in front of outsiders, Yang Ming still had to maintain the necessary respect. Otherwise, people would laugh at him for not knowing the rules. After Wang Songshan entered the house, he sat on the sofa and did not speak, but his face was gloomy. Anyone could see that he was not in a good mood, as if he was angry. Fang Tian, on the other hand, sat at the side. However, Fang Tian's expression was leisurely and complacent. There was even a hint of snickering. No matter how stupid Yang Ming was, he could see that Wang Songshan was definitely angry with him. Wang Songshan's nod when he entered the door was not a compliment, but a sign of anger. When Yang Ming saw that Wang Songshan didn't speak, he had to look at Fang Tian for help. Who knew that this old man still had an indifferent expression and was laughing there? Yang Ming gave him a few signals, but this guy actually turned a deaf ear and pretended not to see. Yang Ming was also helpless. This old man dropped the ball at the crucial moment. Uncle Wang. Why are you here? Are you looking for me? Fang Tian didn't speak, so Yang Ming couldn't be in a deadlock. He had to ask first. Otherwise, sitting there like this made Yang Ming feel a lot of pressure. It was as if he had done something to someone else's daughter, and her father had come to blame him. Old man Fang, is this your apprentice Yang Ming? Wang Songshan didn't answer after listening to Yang Ming's words. Instead, he snorted and looked at Fang Tian. Fang Tian laughed but didn't speak. Yang Ming had to bite the bullet and said, answering Uncle Wang, I am Master Fang Tian's apprentice. I didn't ask you. Wang Songshan waved his hand. He was a little dissatisfied with Yang Ming's interruption. Yang Ming smiled twice. He was a little embarrassed and complained in his heart. What the fuck is this? Your daughter also agreed to break off the engagement. Why does it seem like I made a unilateral decision? Does it make me the same as Chen Shimi? However, Yang Ming definitely wouldn't say these words. No matter how strong Wang Songshan was, he was Fang Tian's best friend. Even if he beat him up on the spot, Yang Ming couldn't fight back. He could only admit that he was unlucky, so Yang Ming wouldn't take the initiative to provoke him. What's wrong with my daughter? Why do you want to break off the engagement? Wang Songshan smiled coldly, looked at Yang Ming, and asked word by word. This. Yang Ming looked at Wang Songshan's expression, and his heart was helpless to the extreme. Senior Wang, as far as I know, I'm not the only one who is dissatisfied with this marriage. It seems that your daughter is also dissatisfied. Marriage is decided by the parents. My daughter's marriage is decided by me. Wang Songshan pointed at Yang Ming and said, and you are old man Fang's apprentice. Master is master, so a master is like a father. Your marriage is naturally decided by old man Fang. The muscles on Yang Ming's face twitched twice. He originally thought that he could smoothly break off the engagement when he came here, but he didn't expect this situation to happen. It seemed that the one who wanted to break off the engagement was Wang Songshan's daughter, not Wang Songshan himself. Wang Songshan seemed to be optimistic about this marriage. He was forced to agree to break off the engagement. His daughter and he didn't have this intention, but there was a glimmer of hope. He still hoped that this engagement would be maintained. As long as he agreed to this marriage, it would be impossible for Wang Songshan's daughter to break off the engagement unilaterally. Senior Wang, I don't agree with your words. What era is this? Love is free. How can you still mention those ancient engagements? Yang Ming knew that he couldn't weaken his momentum at this time. If his momentum weakened, he might fall into the other party's trap. He could only grit his teeth and resist. So, you are determined not to marry my daughter. Wang Songshan's face changed after listening to Yang Ming's words, and his eyes became cold. Yes. Yang Ming met Wang Songshan's gaze and said firmly. Wang Songshan only had the identity of an elder, which made Yang Ming feel a lot of pressure in his heart. But in terms of strength, Yang Ming felt that he would not lose to the person in front of him. Good, very good. Wang Songshan said good twice, but anyone could hear that he wasn't really saying that Yang Ming was good. He was saying the opposite. The families who want to marry my daughter and come to me to propose marriage can line up to the other side of the world. You actually don't want it. Uncle Wang, marriage is based on the love of both parties. I really don't have any feelings for your daughter. I hope you don't force this, Junior. Yang Ming knew that Wang Songhan would be angrier if he said this, but some words still had to be said. But there is a saying, I don't know if Uncle Wang has heard of it. It is called a forced melon is not sweet. It means that if I really get married to your daughter, then there will be no happiness in the future. Oh. How do you know that you don't have any feelings for her? Wang Songhan suddenly asked. Ah. Yang Ming was stunned. Wang Songshan's words made Yang Ming feel somewhat inexplicable. He thought, is this Wang Songshan confused? He smiled bitterly, Uncle Wang, I haven't even met your daughter. How can we talk about feelings? Really? Are you sure you don't have any feelings for my daughter? Wang Songshan seemed to ask somewhat unwillingly. Looking at Wang Songshan's artificial expression, Fang Tian, who was at the side, almost laughed out loud. However, he had undergone strict training and could control his emotions at will. His heart was overjoyed, but his face still had an indifferent expression that was not a smile. Fang Tian thought, this Wang Songshan is a master of acting. He obviously wants to play Yang Ming to death by asking this question. However, Fang Tian did not stop him. This old man's childish heart was not much worse than Wang Songshan's. What's more, he was just playing a little joke on Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan to let them suffer a little. However, Yang Ming did not know the plan in Wang Songshan's heart. He believed his question at the moment, Uncle Wang, you don't have to force this Junior anymore. I came this time with the idea of breaking off the engagement. I won't consider anything else. Good. Good. Wang Songshan nodded and said angrily, my daughter is a national beauty. Others can't marry her even if they want to. I'm giving it to you for free, and you don't want it. Well, let me tell you, you won't have this opportunity again. Since you don't agree now, there's no place to regret in the future. Since Junior has already decided, how can I go back on my word? Yang Ming was stunned and said inexplicably. When I return to Songjiang, I don't even know if I can come to the butterfly castle again. I have offended the butterfly family completely. I guess I won't have any contact with them in the future. How can I go back on my words? Chapter 1377. Are you sure that you won't regret it in the future? Wang Songshan stared at Yang Ming as if he wanted to eat him up. I'll give you one last chance to make your final choice. Are you going to marry her or not? I'm telling you now. If you don't marry her, don't ever think about stepping into the butterfly castle again. There will never be a second chance. I won't regret it. Yang Ming gritted his teeth and said. At this time, I must hold on. If I waver slightly, Wang Songshan will definitely find a way to be aggressive. Yang Ming wondered, am I so good? Does Wang Songshan have to marry his daughter to me? His daughter wouldn't be ugly, would she? Otherwise, if she was really as beautiful as a fairy, why didn't she marry anyone? Why did she have to push him into her arms? Thinking of this, Yang Ming suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Great, I finally got it. Suddenly, a voice came into Yang Ming's mind. This is Wang Songshan's voice. Yang Ming was suddenly a little inexplicable. What does Wang Songshan mean? And I didn't say anything. Yes. Yang Ming suddenly remembered his special ability that he had not used for a long time. The special ability to see through other people's thoughts. Only when my spirit is highly concentrated and when the other party's spirit is also highly concentrated can my special ability work. Being forced to retreat by Wang Songshan, I was naturally very nervous. Unknowingly, my special ability worked, and Wang Songshan was also nervous. Yang Ming guessed correctly. Wang Songshan was indeed very nervous. He was afraid that Yang Ming would not be able to withstand the pressure and suddenly go back on his words. He would agree to his request and marry his daughter. If Yang Ming really agreed, then there would be no more fun. Therefore, his spirit was so nervous that he was relieved when Yang Ming finally decided that he would not go back on his words. He had the thought of, great, I finally got it. However, this sentence was somewhat inexplicable in Yang Ming's mind. Why can't Yang Ming understand? What do you mean by, too good? Could it be that he thought it was too good for her to break off the engagement? If it was too good, wouldn't it be contradictory? Yang Ming thought that Wang Songshan would definitely marry his daughter to him when he saw how Wang Songshan wanted to kill him. But the last sentence was obviously not in line with his previous mood. Could it be that there was a problem? Yang Ming's mind was spinning rapidly. If he didn't hear this sentence later, Yang Ming wouldn't have any doubts. But now that he heard Wang Songshan's idea, Yang Ming had a little doubt. However, no matter how hard Yang Ming thought about it, it was impossible for him not to guess Wang Songshan's true thoughts. Yang Ming would never have thought that Wang Songshan was Wang Xiaoyan's father. Although both of them had the surname Wang, in Yang Ming's opinion, they were two completely different people. How could there be any connection between them? Yang Ming didn't think that there would be any connection between Songjiang and Butterfly Castle. Yang Ming concentrated and wanted to continue to see Wang Songshan's thoughts, but unfortunately, he got nothing. Wang Songshan did not convey any new ideas. It seemed that he had relaxed his mind and was not focused on one point. Yang Ming couldn't detect other people's thoughts when their thoughts were not active. Yang Ming couldn't do anything about this, but even so, Yang Ming already felt that his ability was amazing. This ability to see through other people's thoughts had given him many warnings. He had also gotten a lot of benefits from it. Since he couldn't hear Wang Songshan's new thoughts, Yang Ming could only give up the idea of continuing to use his special ability. He thought, maybe Wang Songshan's previous actions were all for his face. In fact, he didn't want his daughter to marry him, but in order to maintain the face of the big family, he had to make a gesture. In the eyes of outsiders, it was Yang Ming who wanted to break off the engagement, not Wang Songshan's side. Although Yang Ming didn't understand whether there was a specific meaning in doing this, Yang Ming could only guess from the current situation. Wang Songshan's voice sounded again, and Yang Ming quickly threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. Well, in this case, our butterfly family will break off all ties with you. Wang Songshan said, we will have no relationship in the future. Do you agree? Yang Ming glanced at Fang Tian. What does it mean to have nothing to do with me anymore? Does he want to break off ties? Fang Tian and Wang Songshan have been old friends for many years. If they break off ties. Yang Ming wanted Fang Tian to say a few words, but this man was like a stone sculpture. He sat there with no other actions or words except for a faint smile. Yang Ming looked at him for a long time as if he was looking at a statue. Although Yang Ming was annoyed, there was nothing he could do. He knew that maybe Fang Tian didn't want to be caught in the middle. Fang Tian also had his own difficulties. It wasn't appropriate for him to side with either side, so he could only shut up. Yang Ming didn't want to make things difficult for Fang Tian. He sighed and said, Senior Wang, I don't dare to have any objections if you want me to break off ties with the butterfly family. But Master Fang Tian and you are best friends, of course, he won't break ties with me. I'm talking about you. Wang Songshan waved his hand impatiently and interrupted Yang Ming's words. That's good. Yang Ming nodded, since Senior Wang said so, then I'm relieved. It's fine as long as it doesn't affect the friendship between you and my master. He is him and you are you. I'm not confused enough to confuse the two. Wang Songshan waved his hand. Thank you so much. Yang Ming clasped his fist.